Liana? Giselle, we're live. Over to you.
Hello, good evening, good night, good morning, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Slayer's Hot Sauce. It's your girl Giselle, aka Jizzy, and you know how we just do it on a Thursday evening or a Thursday night or wherever you are. We talk about things that are trending, things that are hot topics, things that are serious that matter to us in our community, and we invite you, our viewers, to join in as well. I am broadcasting from the lovely island of Ibiza or Ibiza, as some people say.
Whatever.
I am here. So from my hotel room. So if you hear any noise in the background, it's because people outside making real noise, Ole. They're making real noise. But tonight we have a lot to talk about. So as usual, we want you to get involved. I am joined by my panelists, some familiar faces and a new face tonight. So as usual, I'll let them introduce themselves. So starting from the top of my screen to my left is Super Trini Vibes.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Super Trini Vibes. I'm a radio presenter, host, as well as a chef. And it's my pleasure to be on this platform as always with all these beautiful people. And to everyone across the world, this sauce going to be real hot tonight.
Thank you, Super Trini. And to my right, next to Super Trini, is Sir Influential.
Hi everyone, good night. I'm Sir Influential, Flag Sound Soca Weekender, Flag 365. I'm a podcaster, host as well, DJ, event coordinator, and a lot more good stuff. Pleasure again being on the panel to discuss all things juicy and exciting and to give the usual obscure opinion.
Welcome once again to Influential, and to his right, to my right as well, is Miss Ponder Road.
Good evening. Yep, on the road, blogger, new to event planning, Taylor 26th of June at Cabby's Jerk, all round Carnival and Soca enthusiast.
Lovely. Welcome back, Ponder Road. And our new guest panelist tonight, I'll let her introduce herself, is Melissa.
Hi there. Nice to be here tonight. It's my first time. Looking forward to the topic tonight. So my name's Melissa. People call me Mel. I'm an engineer, a project manager, entrepreneur. I love a good fat. So yeah, a lot of things. But yeah, we could stick with that for now. So thank you for having me, guys.
And thank you for coming, Melissa. Nice to have you. Last but not least, because we have a couple others who are going to be joining us later, is Miss Lisa Love.
Hey, hi everybody. Sorry to be late, but yeah, technical issues as usual. Late being Lisa Love, the usual. Just on Instagram doing my thing, talking about relationship, coaching women who are either in relationships, out of relationships, trying to get into one or preparing for one. Just check me out, being Lisa Love on Instagram. Other than that, just love my soca, love my islands, love my everything fat, just everything sunshine, I guess. And we're here to jam tonight.
As we usually do, right? Because all you can't keep all your mouth quiet. So, ladies and gentlemen, drop us, your flag. Tell us in the comments where you're tuning in from this evening. And of course, most importantly, as we always do on Slayer's Hot Sauce, 3 important things. 1, share the live. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. 2, subscribe to Carnival Slayer's YouTube channel. And 3, last but not least, make sure that you participate in the comments, okay? Because, we always read out the comments and stuff like that as well. So it is participatory. And tonight we are talking about Kevin Samuels. If you haven't tuned into social media, if you was taking a break and you don't know who he is or what he was about, or the fact that he's recently passed away, I encourage you to watch this clip so we can give you a little context of who he was, because he is going to be the topic of discussion tonight, and not just him, but what he stood for and what that means in the wider context of our Black community. So stay tuned and look at this clip so you get to know who he was.
This man was a hypocrite, in my honest opinion. He really was. I didn't find anything about him to be healing. He insulted African-American women on a consistent basis. One of his last statements that he said was that if you're over 38 and you haven't married or something like that, that you're no good and disposable. To me, it was a shock jock. And, you know, I hope this is teaching folks a lesson about the karma that you put out, the negativity that you put out in the world, that when karma comes knocking at your door, she might not be so kind. So, you know, the fact that he killed over real quick and was supposedly with a woman that we don't yet know the nationality, rest in peace.
Hi, I'm I don't know what your topic is tonight, but I guess.
How old are you?
Guess.
Don't play with me. Guess these nuts.
Who lies more, men or women?
Men.
Really? Is that your hair?
No.
That's a lie.
Rank yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. What would you rate? Yeah, let's get back to reality.
No, I'm in reality.
No, you're not in reality.
I'm
You're
in
not a
reality.
10. You're not in reality. If you're gonna be a 10, we can end this. Because that's not reality. You're not a supermodel.
So what are you basing?
You're not okay, man.
Check
Check the attitude.
Women hate to be bored, and men and women love men who have a life that looks exciting. Ask yourself a question. Do people invite you to do anything? Do people invite you to go anywhere? When there's a house party, an event, or whatever, are you on the must-have list? And if not, you got work to do. How tall are you?
I didn't hear you.
How tall are you?
About 5'4".
5'4". Dress size?
Dress size, size 10.
How much did you weigh the last time you weighed yourself?
180. But as you can tell, I'm heavy chested.
Yes,
Like
but listen. 5'4", 180. You weigh more than a man.
I just got into the protective style because I like to work out. I've started back working out. So I wanted to do something that would be protective for my hair. I'm on it. I'm being honest. If you go to my page, you can see my natural hair outlook. I have hair.
Ma'am, you like to work out? No, you don't.
Yes, I do. My friends is on here. They will tell you I just started.
I recently found out you had stage 3 cancer, right? Yeah. That made me look at things even more. I'm like, man, maybe he to the point now, like, I don't care about pleasing nobody.
Well,
I'm gonna tell it how it is.
Well, when I was 21 years old, I was diagnosed with stage 3 Hodgkin's lymphoma. And while everybody else was about to go graduate from college and go off and to live life, I'm looking at my own mortality.
I'm just wondering what kind of options would be available to me. I'll give you a quick synopsis. I'm 42 years old. Last year I used to weigh 203 pounds.
None.
No, I'm not finished.
None. Yeah, you are.
Last year.
Yeah, you are. I want to hear shit from you talking about you being broke. If you're not working in 60 hours minimum a week that you're getting paid for, turn off YouTube, Instagram, whatever, and get your ass out there. Go down there and work at McDonald's, Circle K, get you a job. I don't care about your pride. You can't be proud and broke at the same time. Go work, and then you take that money you make from your part-time job, invest some of it, Invest most and take half of it, invest it to your future. The other 50%, the other percentage, take some, have some fun, go buy your belt, then invest in self-improvement. Get you a high income skill. Get you something that's going to give you high value skills that you can market on, that you can leverage on the marketplace.
Rest in peace to that brother. Without a doubt.
That's a lot of clips.
Yeah, we needed that. We needed a lot of clips to show people the full. Because if you just did the first clips, it wouldn't be a genuine and fair representation of the sir, which is Mr. Case. So, yeah, and there's some information in there that a lot of us probably didn't know. And I'm sure none of you knew, or most of us didn't know, that he had stage 3 cancer or was suffering from it at some point in time and from such a young age as well. Jizzy, over to you.
Yeah, well, sorry I cut out there. My device was actually overheating, so I had to use another one because the Slayer's hot sauce is just so hot tonight that, it was seriously overheating, and we are going to be unpacking this. It is interesting that so influential, you applauded it. Certainly a lot of people have not been applauding him, and surely enough have not been applauding him in death. Some people have actually been rejoicing. It is reported that he has, transitioned and passed on because they felt that, the contribution that he was making wasn't uplifting or positive enough. So it's quite interesting that we had to show those different clips to unpack and give people different perspectives and dimensions to, who he was and probably what he stood for. So again, as I said, ladies and gentlemen, this is about talking about the issues that he spoke about and how it affected people so much to the point where, people feel so strongly about him in death. So one of the first questions I want to ask and put out to everyone is, and before we go deeper into it, guys, so this is just a really superficial question around death. Should we be celebrating when someone passes on? And if we are celebrating, if that celebration comes from a perspective where we don't agree with what that person was saying or what they stood for, should we really be celebrating? And all of the celebrations that we see in, what does that say about us, when someone passes on? So it's just to get your 2 cents on that, guys. Again, if someone's talking, we'll keep quiet so that you can make your point and then somebody else will make a point. So I'm opening it up to everybody. Anybody could jump on first and, give me your thoughts on what you think about that.
Okay. I'm happy to start off. I wasn't a fan of Kevin, but I didn't rejoice in his death, because I empathize, because at the end of the day, he is a human being. Even though I don't agree with how he treated my fellow Black women, I definitely wouldn't have been like one of the people calling up on his show. But yeah, no, I don't agree with rejoicing in his death at all, regardless of how I felt about him as a human being. So yeah.
Cool. And do you think, Melissa, that because like in certain cultures, people celebrate death, so they celebrate birth and death. And certainly I've been to funerals, especially like in parts of Africa where a funeral is something that is celebrated and the person's life is celebrated. Do you think that the celebrations, and I put that really heavily in inverted commas, would have been something like that, or you think this was more a kind of cynical kind of celebration?
Correct. I think it's more the latter. I don't think people were celebrating his life. I think they were celebrating the end of his life. That was kind of gist that I've been getting from social media and everything else. So yeah.
Yeah, cool. Anybody else want to comment?
Well, I would say this, right? For me, as humanity, it's incredibly disappointing because what somebody does in their life they can answer for it once it is they're alive. When they pass, they can't answer anything. And for us as people living in the world that we're living in now, where for the last 2 years, death has been something so prominent in our households and within our, everyday households, that when we cynically downgrade someone's life, it's very, very difficult for me personally to look at somebody and be like, oh, you're a wholesome person then. If it is you choose to be that way to somebody whose life is lost, regardless of your opinion of them, and I'm going to use the word opinion a lot tonight, your opinion of them doesn't justify you downgrading their life, because they were loved by someone, they were cared for by someone, they were somebody's uncle, somebody's ex-husband, somebody's father. And if it is we choose not to respect the dead, then what are we living for now? What is humanity coming to? And on social media, I could understand with social media, there's, you hold no bars, you say what you want, you comment where you want, and you have your 2 cents. But on a human level, on a humanity scale, it was incredibly disappointing that we chose to chastise and bring him down when he can't answer for himself. That's my 2 cents.
So you're thinking that if he was alive, then he could have answered for the same kind of what some people would consider as bringing down as what he used to do to black women.
You
A
see,
dead man tells no tales, but in terms of like the
see,
bringing
because
down,
that's opinion, and that's opinion.
yeah.
Bringing down is opinion. To some women, they would see it as, oh, he's just being real. To some men, he would see it as he's just being real. He's not apologetic for it. He's just saying his opinion. And if it is you choose to bring down everybody for their opinion, what are you going to be left with?
So is it not that these people are just expressing their opinion as well? So not really bringing him down, but expressing their opinion.
You can express your
how
opinion.
they saw it.
No, you can express your opinion, great. But when you celebrate, and some of the memes and stuff was not nice. It really wasn't. And because I said it from a human perspective, from a human perspective, you could have your opinion within yourself, right? And you could say to that person or write it on their page or whatever. Once they're here, they can answer to it. They can either ignore it or they can answer the call once it is you've put it out there into the world. But he can't. So if it is you had nothing good to say about him when he was here, he's gone now. Why it is you're still holding your saying something or opening your mouth to say something more? You understand me?
Well, they're just expressing their opinion.
Yeah, like I said, opinion is fine. Opinion is fine. But from a human perspective, I found it really downheartening. Like from a human perspective, you understand? Let the dead rest. They're not here. They can't answer. They've lived their life however they've lived it. Just let it go. Let it go.
Right. I hear that. I hear that. And I think the same way how he expressed himself in life is how people expressed, or how people continue to express themselves in his death, because everybody does have an opinion. And one of the things that crossed my mind was and I say the word celebration quite loosely, yeah. But sometimes, and I don't know if anybody's not guilty of this, but I certainly am guilty of it, and I'll put my hands up. Sometimes there are some people that you think, actually, the world is a better place without them here. And I'm not saying that he is one of them. I'm not saying that at all. But the reason why I brought up that point is that perhaps some of these people who seem to be content that he's no longer here probably think, actually, yeah, is much nicer without him here, because of what he actually stood for and what he said on his platform wasn't doing anything to uplift us or our community. So perhaps that is where the celebration is coming from. I am just inferring. I'm not saying for sure. Lisa, what's your thoughts on it?
You need to Ask me the question again because I feel like I lose track of the actual question you asked earlier.
Well, it's about, celebrating in very loose terms when somebody has passed. Should there be a celebration and put in some context into the celebration? Like Super Trini said, he's passed, he can't stand up for himself. Why are you gonna say stuff about him? And my thing is, people are just giving their opinion, like how he gave his opinion.
Yeah.
But also asking the question that, sometimes there are some people that when they pass, you think actually the world is a better place without them. So it's just getting your opinion on that whole thing.
From my own personal space, I wouldn't celebrate somebody dying unless it's somebody I personally knew, and that's what they wanted in death. They wanted us to celebrate their life in terms of the way that they lived. But I think in this context, celebrating him not being here anymore, I could understand why. I wouldn't do it. But I did have that thought. I was like, probably they're feeling as if it's a better place without this person. It's sad, but just what you said there, I actually saw the comments and saw the this and that. When anything happens, this world always have memes. So the memes is be vicious. We'll be waiting for them memes like, So them memes is be vicious anyway. But for me personally, I wouldn't rejoice in death like that because I didn't know that person personally. I just knew their public persona. If it's somebody that I knew personally who had done a lot of things that I knew about, I might probably be happy that they died.
Yeah, no, I hear that. And
you understand?
actually,
So if let's say it's an abuse, let's say it was an abusive situation and somebody who was abusing me or abusing my family member or something like that, and they die under abuse, I'd be like, well, yeah. I mean, I ain't gonna be doing a happy dance, but I'll be happy now that my family member or me or whoever I know personally had to go through that torture thing. But yeah, people are gonna do their thing. We can't. Again, we can't sit here and have an opinion on what people feeling because again, we judging the same way that we say, we shouldn't be judging. But yeah.
And then I think probably as well, because of this age that we live in, this technological age with social media, and like Super Trini was saying with the memes and stuff, some of the memes being really unkind. Isn't that the age that we live in? Because now there's a meme for everything, good, bad, ugly, and different. There is a meme.
You see that comment? You see that comment? I was gonna actually say that because when Super Trini said we wait till he died to say those things, people were at him.
No, that's not what I said. That's not what I said.
No, the person asking the question to something I think what you said, because I thought that's what you said. So that comment that person make, I was actually thinking that, and I was like, actually, when he was alive, people had plenty to say as well.
Yeah, if people have plenty to say regardless.
So,
sorry,
I don't think it's just in death. I think they had a lot to say about him as a whole because of what he did and how he handled things. So I think I don't think they waited till he died to say it. I think they were saying it since before.
they were saying before, which is fine. You understand?
Yeah.
But it's when it is you read up on it and you hear that his mom found out because people were calling her because of social media, and people were saying this and that through social media. There was no like, obviously social media gives nobody a break. Nobody gets any respite. They're on your tail from straight. They're on your backside, and I get that. But like I said, from a human perspective, we just need to calm down just a little bit. Regardless if you like somebody or don't like somebody, when they pass away, live and let live. You understand me? But speaking ill of the dead, that is a low bar.
Well, I mean, they were speaking ill of him whilst he was alive as well.
That's great. That's fine. He can choose to ignore it. We keep going about it, but I keep saying it from a humanity perspective. When somebody is gone and they can't answer for themselves, then that means what it is you're talking to. You're just talking for what? When you've already said what you had to say when he was alive, and he didn't answer you, he just kept on doing what he was doing. Now he's dead. He can't continue doing what he's doing, but we still want to continue.
Well, my opinion is a little similar to Super Trini in terms of what he's just said. However, where I would slightly differ is the fact that people was coming for him while he was alive anyway.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it just helped him. In fact, it helps him with his popularity, the clout that came with that. It helped all the way through. So actually, that is probably why he was remaining the way he was, because he's thought, you know, is there such a thing as bad news or bad press nowadays? You know, especially when it comes to social media, is there actually such a thing as bad press? No, there isn't. I mean, you know, I've seen it numerous times on social media where someone is getting a lot of backlash and negativity, and in fact all it does is just adds more to the mystery, or you know, people wanting to know more about that individual. So it actually helped him wonders. But where I would say that rejoicing and celebrating the death of someone and good riddance, you know, they're no longer on this planet living and, you know, taking another breath, is if it's a pedophile, a child killer, you know, someone who's extremely evil, who's killed, you know, numerous people. Like that is where I would say, you know what, the victims, thinking about the victims, the families or friends of those victims, they will rejoice. You know, it would come across as a celebration. I hear what you're saying, Super Trini. I know you disagree with that bit. As far as you're concerned, we need to be having a bit more respect for the dead. And yes, I do agree with that. But it's hard to have respect for the dead when they did so much evil when they were alive. So, you know, as I said, if it's a child killer, pedophile, them kind of people there, good riddance. They shouldn't even be living, period. In fact, I would even go as far as saying sometimes I feel like the death penalty needs to come back for people who are extremely evil. And I'm very, very very much passionate about that, especially when it comes to child killers and you know, pedophiles, where they've done something. I'm just saying.
All Kevin Samuels was guilty of was his opinion.
And that is true. And this is why I again say that I don't think, because he didn't kill anyone, I don't think people should be rejoicing in that way. I do feel like that is so inappropriate, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't kill nobody.
Nah, you know why? You know why people will rejoice? Because people will always remember how you make them feel.
And
it have nothing that we could do. It have nothing we could do to take away how somebody feels. So even though that wasn't somebody's intention, or they was trying to be real and, you know, straight up and hold women accountable, all this faff, people will never forget how you make them feel. And you see that? They will go with that, like they say, to the grave. So you make me feel this way, okay, all right, cool. So whether it had to do with their insecurities, why they're feeling like that, whether it have to be with somebody else, their childhood stuff they deal with, trauma, whatever it is, people will always remember how you make them feel. And it's not my responsibility to make you feel good. It wasn't his responsibility to make these women feel good. However, he didn't help. He wasn't healing. He wasn't helping. So when you don't help, but you have an opinion that strongly, please, come on, get out of here. That's just me.
It's very.
I'm not rejoicing. I'm just saying. I think Marsha said it when we discussed it in the week. I don't even care. He didn't put no money and, you know, bread on my table. He didn't do anything for me. I didn't have to call him for anything. I didn't know him. So if I'm honest, I really don't care. But I feel like people should be allowed to have their opinion. If they want to rejoice, let them rejoice.
And I think the debate that we're having is not about how people should feel, whether they should feel the way they feel, whether the way they feel is right or wrong. Because I think we all agree people should have a way to feel however they want to feel. I think what is even more interesting is something you just said, Lisa, the fact that people will remember how he made them feel. And I'd just like to touch on that wider issue because I didn't know who he was, and obviously when it broke on social media, I was like, oh, I wonder who this guy is. But everything that I was hearing about him was negative, because the narrative that was being put out that I heard was that he was a man that didn't do anything for the empowerment or upliftment of Black women, African American women. And I thought that was really interesting because that's what I was hearing coming out a lot. So definitely what he was putting out there was perceived as negative by a lot of people, and I think it would be interesting for us to just touch on that wider context, because I think to myself, I'm not American, I'm not African American, I have African heritage, but I'm not African American, and I can't sit here and say that I understand, what African American women go through, because what I see is a lot on, what I could gather from television and from my relatives that live over there. But what I have observed is that African American have it really tough, and they face a lot of battles. And the gist that I was getting is that, they need as many or as many champions as they could get. And here was somebody using his platform not to really champion African American women, but doing the opposite. And I'm happy to be told otherwise, because as I said, I don't know the guy, but it's just what I was seeing coming out from it. And the fact that you have prominent African American women like Vivica Fox coming publicly and saying what she had to say, it says to me that clearly he rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. So I just like for us to talk a little bit about, that wider context when it comes to women in general, and the fact that as a Black woman, do you think that our Black brothers champion us? And if they do they champion us enough? Because we've been through a lot, both African men and women, and continue to go through a lot. And should we be championing each other? And if we do have a platform that is influential, rather than do something that would, be sensational, should we be doing something more positive? Could he have used his platform to do something, more positive for African American women? I don't know. And I see a comment saying there's a lot of misinformation going on here. Jermaine Reed. Jermaine, if there is, please put it in the comments, because as I said, I don't know the guy. So I'm more than happy to be educated, because my observation is just from what I've gathered from social media. So yeah, please feel free to edify us in the comments. But I just want to ask a question to our panelists, in terms of, do you think our Black men champion us enough? And if they, do they champion us at all, or do they champion us enough? And should they use their platform, or should we use our platform to uplift and empower each other? What do you guys think about that? I'll start with you, Melissa.
That was a very long question, but could you repeat it again, please?
So the long and short is, do you think Black men champion Black women? And if they do you think that they champion us enough? And should we be championing each other? Especially when we have public platforms that, are influential, or in a position of influence.
Okay, so I'm definitely pro on championing, like, just women power, Black women power, celebrating each other. I'm all for that. Same with our Black brothers. But when it came to to Kevin, I was introduced to him during the pandemic. I think that's when he became viral. And I had time because, we're on lockdown. We couldn't go out. We had all of this stuff going on. So I had some time. But I could not even finish an entire show just because how he's even speaking to my fellow Black sisters, especially when it's based on superficial aspects. If I'm coming into your talk show and I'm looking for love, what does, if I'm weighing over 180 pounds, my waistline, what's going on with my hair? Like, I don't think these are bases to like judge me or try and belittle me to say I'm unworthy of love. And that was like a constant that I was seeing when I did log in. So I couldn't even tolerate it for very long because I'm thinking, who is he? Why is he even being allowed to speak to my sisters in this manner? And I kind of got upset with my sister too, because I'm thinking, why do you even care about his opinion? He isn't helping us in any way. Why are we calling in? Why are we supporting the platform? So it's kind of like a give and take. So yeah, I was kind of disappointed with that because I'm not going to be calling up Kevin. I wouldn't call up Kevin because it's not
Well,
going to do
because
anything for
they
me.
wanted to be noticed and clout and all this social media
That's
thing.
what it
Because
is.
if you call in and it's this, you understand?
Clout.
It to me it wasn't worth it. So that's
A lot of
my
that.
2 cents when it comes to that. But I definitely think we can be celebrating each other more. In terms of our brothers as well, definitely. I mean, I'm not saying that, if somebody's probably going down a wrong avenue or whatever, you could advise them, but you don't break them down the way that I saw Kevin breaking down other women. I just don't agree with it.
Yeah, no, point taken, point taken. And I'm just looking at one of our viewers saying that she couldn't watch more than a full minute. His whole approach was just intolerable. Couldn't work with the negative energy. It was too much. And I think that's what a lot of females think, that it was just a bit too much. And I find it quite interesting that the men think that he was keeping it real. Now I'm gonna come to that. That's gonna be my next point. Was he really keeping it real? But before I hit on that, I just wanna throw that question that you answered, Mel, out to Welcome Black Star. What we're saying is I'm asking the question, do Black men champion Black women? And if they do they champion them enough? And do we champion each other enough? That's the question I want you to answer.
I believe we do. Sorry. Hello, good night. Forget my manners. Good evening, people. I had some connection issues. This is tying into last week's episode of social media. There's more good than bad. I personally believe in social media. There's a lot of champion of Black people. There's a lot of Black men actually champion Black women that doesn't get noticed or put out there. The social media. I just feel we as a society or as a people love to focus on the negatives too much because negativity sells at this present moment in time. It's like I will talk to my sisters, like you see them online talking, saying, "Oh, Black men don't do this. Black men ain't, Black men are trash." But it's always a certain type of people saying men are trash. But if we or myself was to try and call them out, I'll be told, "Oh, you hate women, you hate this and that." But we're just responding to what's being said to us. But I digress. But I definitely believe like we do champion each other. On the flip side, though, some of our brothers definitely could do more. Those that are in the limelight could definitely do a bit more to push. But I definitely feel like there's enough there. And it all depends on where it is that you look for. I personally don't look to celebrities to see what they're doing. But again, if you were to look to celebrities, there's plenty more examples of Black men dating Black women and vice versa than there is the other. So I just feel some of us just like to focus too much on the negativity.
Okay.
You see that
Jermaine.
comment?
Yeah, welcome,
Yeah,
welcome,
you see
Jermaine.
that
Tell us
comment?
where you're from. I find this really interesting. So you said he spoke
He
to
did.
and about men for
Yep.
ages, but
Oh,
once he
boy.
did the same about women, it blew
Yep.
up. You're
Yeah,
gonna
that's
ask
And
me
he
true.
didn't.
what is that?
Yep.
Actually,
And he
That's
didn't gain.
100%
He didn't gain traction. He didn't
That's
gain
true.
traction with that. So he switched. He pivoted.
So when he was talking about
Yeah.
men, was it Black men he was talking about, or just men in general?
It was Black men. So he
He
was
started
basically,
off holding Black men accountable,
yeah, so he's basically helping
and that
Black
didn't
men
gain the traction.
how to dress, how to wear their
Yeah.
perfume, what tie combos, shirt, ties, everything. Like a lot of these men who have money, they don't know how to talk to women. So he's helping them to get and talk to women. They're coming back saying, "Kevin, we're taking your advice, but these women out there ain't responding." So he now said, "Let me talk to the women who want to date your kind." So that's where he started addressing the women that want to date those said kind as a term higher value man.
And he didn't push the same good energy that he had with his Black men with his Black women. If he had done that, he would have gotten a better response from us.
The guy had
so that
over
same care
1.5
and love
million
that he was showing his
subscribers.
Black men, he should have shown his black woman the same care.
But at the end of the
Okay.
day, Kevin Samuels, he was a business. He himself, it was a business. Like I find it hard to believe that people actually really thought he genuinely actually cared about what these women wanted out of life. I find it hard because social media, as we know, it's become a business. We were in lockdown. He saw a way to monetize. He was an investor. He was a cute businessman.
Yeah.
The last
Image
guy that
consultant.
what he actually said makes sense. You get your money, you half it, you invest half. It actually makes sense. The theory of it actually makes sense. So there's nothing wrong with that. However, he saw a way to make money. Sensationalization drama, it sells. And him being a man talking to women the way he did, and obviously pitching the whole goal or the whole narrative that the man is the prize, the man is the goal. For you to get a man like this, you have to behave a certain way. And obviously women are brought up and conditioned, especially in Western society, to believe that, at a certain age you get married and you have kids and you do this and do all that kind of stuff. So women still look for that dream. And I think he bought into it and saw a way to make money. I don't honestly think he really actually genuinely cared about people's or black women's relationships and uplifting black women. He made money. He's a business.
I disagree.
So tell us why you disagree, Super Thin.
I disagree because he was on a podcast with Joe Button and two other guys, and he literally said, I created a whole company and I only hired black people. And everybody kept on asking me, why am I only hiring black people? He said, well, if they can do the job, I'm going to hire them. Let that soak in for a minute, right? If it is you say that he doesn't want to champion the black community, I'm not going to talk about black women yet, the black community. In terms of his job as the image consultant, when he asks the questions about your age, what dress size you wear, is because you have come to him and said, oh, this is the man I want. I want a man that earns $400,000 a year, right? But as an image consultant, and he speaks to those men will say, well, this is what I want my woman to look like. So naturally, he is then going to say, well, if this is what you want, he's going to look at his graph and say, well, if this is what it is they want, and this is what you're giving me, and it doesn't add up, and this is what it is you want, and saying that you want as a woman, then you got work to do.
So is that in the context when he was saying to women that, if you're over 35 and you're not married, and if you're not slim or if however you're not a 10?
No, like with that comment, in terms of Vivica, if it is you're going to quote somebody saying, you make sure you say exactly what they said. You don't say it in your own way. You make sure you say exactly what they said so that it's not misconstrued and it's not cut up into different portions where these people might take away the first part, the middle part. Say exactly what he said. And then when it is you go and you listen to what other people have commented, a lot of women and a lot of men agreed and said, you know what? His delivery wasn't fantastic and isn't fantastic. We can all agree with that. You understand? But what he was trying to show is that in our society, right, we all go onto social media, we look on somebody's profile, we see how they dressed and they made up, and we make an opinion. We make an opinion based on that, right? Now, when young women or women want a man, right, if it is they meet a man in the club and they exchange social media, if it is they're interested, they're going to go on the social media and see what he's about, because that's all that's there, But with Kevin Samuels, if it is a woman come and she's asking X and she's saying, this is where it is I am, this is what it is I'm about, and he then gives you understand, his understanding, his opinion, but then when the woman decides to take it on board, she wants to take on board only the negatives. And she's not really taking on board the holistic point of view, right? And breaking down exactly what she said, right? And asking the questions, hey, because he's asked questions only, for I've watched quite a few, and he's asked questions for the first 15 minutes. All he'll be doing is asking you questions. He's not berating you. He's not dragging you down. He's just asking you questions based on what it is you're saying and how it is you're selling yourself and your delivery toward him, right? And what your story is. And then from that point of view, he'd be like, okay, so what is you want then? If it is, this is what you're saying, what is you really want? And when it is, and I'm going to say this holistically, but also recognizing that not every woman is the same. Not everybody is the same. But if he's having an individual conversation, but then every woman decides to say, well, nah, he can't say that. I can't see how that's right. Because he's having an individual personal conversation that she has opened the door to. He didn't drum it into her to say, I want you to say this. She has opened the door and expressed what she wants, what she likes, what her goals are. And he will be like, okay, then, so what have you done? What aren't you doing? What should you do more? These are all growth questions.
Let me put a spin on that, yeah?
So hold on, before you put a spin, sir, can I just ask, so was he consistent in what he was saying to these women? Was it a particular type of woman that kept calling in that made him say the same things? Because what I'm getting at is that what the advice he used to give or whatever he used to say was more or less along the same lines all the time. Did it ever have any instances where he said anything different to anybody?
No, because it's based on whoever's come and speak to him, and you'll realize if it is any of you all have literally listened to a few, maybe more than 5 or more than 10 of his podcasts, not the short little clip.
Influential has. So Influential, perhaps you could speak on this.
Yeah,
go on, sir.
No, it's good evening. The issue that we're dancing around is that it's a lot of women celebrating his death, and the men are like, why are you celebrating? What's there to celebrate? And the video that made him go viral, it's not even him talking to a woman. It's him talking to a man. That's the video that everybody saw first when he went viral. That's the video that
when did he go viral? Sorry.
When
if
he
you
got
don't mind me
viral in
asking.
the pandemic, 2020.
2020. Why did he go viral?
Because he asked the dude, how big are you? What age are you? How much do you earn? Do you have a big dick? The guy said he's nearly 300 pounds. He's under 6 foot. He earns $800 a month. And he doesn't have a big dick. So then Kevin Samuel says, why should women be attracted to you? What do they get from being with you? They don't get a big dick. They don't get and you're fat. You're a fat fucker. That's what he said.
Not all of us want big dicks, sir.
Yes, let me finish. So the point is, that's the video that made him go viral. Yeah. And then he went on to have that kind of rough, harsh, blunt conversation with everybody else after that. Going back to what Black Star said earlier, he begun his career talking positively and saying, oh yeah, make sure you dress like this, do that. I was this, I was that. When I was your age, I was earning more than that. I was doing this, I was doing that. That has slow traction.
It's true.
When he's brought the bluntness to everybody, that's what sells.
Yeah.
That again is the issue. That again, like what Trini Boy and Super Trini said and Black Star said, is when you have social media where it's like a vacuum. If you only see it in one specific motion, that's all you're gonna see. Because most of you didn't see that first video ever where he was cussing out the guy. But you've all seen the tens of videos of women that are not
Big Shirley.
But then there are also some women that have taken from it and said, rah, hold on.
Yeah.
It makes sense. And then vice versa. There's some guys I've seen on social media saying, nah, that Kevin Samuel guys, he chats rubbish about guys and women. So remember, you can't please everybody. Your approach, no matter how much you try to tailor it and curate it, won't always be acceptable for everybody and palatable to everybody. It's social media at the end of the day. So we're not here to be perfect. We're here to be real and honest and speak our truth and live in our truth. So sometimes it's called tough love. Like how your mom always or your parents always reprimand you won't be to how your neighbor does it with their kids. Does that mean your mom's a bad parent? Does that mean your mom's or that is a bad person? No. Different strokes for different folks, and sometimes you need that variety. So, yeah, that's it. I feel like we need to be more mindful of how we're assessing it and taking everything into consideration. And again, that sells. The passa sells. We all know this. Passa
Yeah.
sells.
And it's such a shame that it actually does. I don't know what has happened to us in society that, all the bacchanal sells. Why is it that it sells?
It's
Is it
always
that
so.
Always
so
sells.
dull?
Bad news always sells. It's not just social media. It's bad news always sells. When you watch news on TV, it's either a disaster, some kind of interest rate foolishness. Some foolishness go. Good news gets one little snippet of the news at the end, like to say something's happened, and many, many good things happen. It just won't make the news. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It doesn't make the
Yeah.
news. It's just like social media. Many, many good things happen. Many, many good people. Black men championing black women. It doesn't sell. It doesn't.
Yeah.
People don't talk
I just
about
want to pick up
it and pass it on.
I just want to pick up on a comment one of our viewers made saying that, probably it's not that people are rejoicing, but they just don't have that empathy and are not mourning, and it could be that as well, because to be honest, a lot of us don't know him personally. A lot of people don't know him personally. And I guess the thing is that they're just not empathetic to his passing, but I don't think anybody would be like really rejoicing, that he has died. I don't know. It's just, again, it could be a lot of hype, as we have talked about in a previous podcast, the hype of social media. So it could be that, just that hype, and people are just not empathetic, but probably not, as we say, celebrating. So I think probably, reframing it, because I started off the discussion saying, celebrating, but probably just reframing that to a lack of empathy. And that could be for a number of reasons. People could be less empathetic and sympathetic for a number of reasons. And I think as well, social media has desensitized us. How many things have we seen that we have become desensitized to? And probably this might be just another one of it, because, we are desensitized to a lot. And I certainly know for myself personally, I try and jump off of social media sometimes, because when I feel like myself, when I reach my point of saturation, if I'm consuming too much, and sometimes when you consume too much negativity or too much, I don't think we can get too much positivity, because like Marsha said, on the road, there's not enough of it. But, you get to a point where you actually become desensitized to things. And perhaps it may be that people have just become desensitized to this as well. Jamie is just bringing us back, saying that people talking about karma. Super Trini, you were saying something about...
I was just about to say that.
Yeah, no, but when you were saying that quotes, people need to quote it right. Now, again, because of our lovely producer here, we talking about this. I didn't go and watch any of his podcasts. And I'm not sure if I will have the time to watch any of it. So I am guided by what everybody is saying. I just wanted to just pick up on a little bit more around the wider context of just our community, just something that you mentioned in terms of humanity. Where is our humaneness when it comes to issues, and just our general feeling around that? Because I mean, this guy, he certainly opened a can of worms, because obviously we're talking about it on Slayer's Hot Sauce. So it's just really interesting that things like this happen and people form such strong opinions about other people. And it's something that Pondy Road was saying, if he did it because it is sensational and it was selling, is it that people couldn't see that? Why is it that people were taking it so seriously? If you had seen through, and it's like what Melissa was saying, she wouldn't call in on his show, and she's asking, her friends or family or whatever, why would you call in on his show? So is it that people couldn't see through that? And is that an American thing? Because something that I would like to ask people, and I don't know where our viewers are from, But I certainly think that the way how Americans are wired is different to how other people are wired. And when I listen to the kind of conversations that they have and the sort of things that they talk about, and certainly from hearing you speak, Super Trini, it sounds like it and so influential that a lot of these women were quite superficial because they were talking about material things. Jermaine mentioned as well in his comments that, you know, women were interested in men that were earning over 100K. So to me, it seems very, very superficial. And is it that, you know, a lot of people have become superficial? You know, is it that the American culture is based on superficial? Because when I watch American TV, I see a lot of things which is all about material things. You know, so what about that deeper level? Does that even exist in that culture? Who knows? What are your thoughts on that?
America
America
has always been about how much money you have and
Yeah.
how you look. It's always been like that. It's never going to be any different. That's the basis for a lot of. I used to live in the States, and that's the basis for everything. You know, so that's just their culture. It's just like Trinidadians, we like to lie, or Caribbean people just easy going. We don't rush to go nowhere. It's just a cultural thing. Those things are not as important to us over on this side. But for them, it's a big deal.
And I guess probably perhaps that's why our reaction would be, well, you know, we wouldn't really call into a program like that. We could see through it that it was for show. It wasn't really that deep. So, you know, we wouldn't do it. But then again, when you look at the program and look at the people that were calling in and how people are so worked up by the whole thing. And I'm thinking, but couldn't you see that it was, you know, if he was doing, I find it really interesting that you guys have educated me tonight and said this man actually used to talk to men the same way. And he started off with men. It didn't get much traction. He actually went viral with a video of a man. And, you know, the way how this whole thing has blown up. But coming back to karma, all right. So, you know, we had to have a little bacchanal in the hot sauce. So I just find it interesting that I heard that he made comments about, you know, the thicker women. You understand, those of us that have some meat on our bones. And I was really, really shocked, and I found it really intriguing and ironic that he died on top of a thick woman. You know, I'm thinking, oh, all you know how I just I get a little confused because I say to myself, but wait now. And he was saying, he was talking about the big girl and them, you know, the little thick sauce, you know, so influential, the little fluffy, them, how you just call we, you know. So he was talking so much about a fluffy, and he had so much thing to say about a fluffy, but then he dead on top of a fluffy.
What's the influential? Let's call it
fluffy. He just call me fluffy, you know. But all you help me understand. I say it's a good thing he died on top of the fluffy, and the fluffy wasn't on top of he. Because if he was top of the fluffy, that suggests to me that he couldn't handle the ride. But he would have been riding because she was not top. So how come he had to give way? Because it's a defibrillator. She tried to revive him, and he couldn't revive with the defib. So that fluffy one, I just want to say, big up all the fluffy girl them, because I fluffy myself. So you know, I fluffy. So big up all the fluffy girl them, because all you don't know, we don't know the fluffy girl bag of sugar else with the man gets so much sugar.
She break it all.
You understand? She gets so much sugar that he couldn't handle it. He dikki-tikka. Anybody used to watch Allo Allo? Always used to watch Allo Allo?
Yes.
You know Allo Allo, the old man? Yeah. Always used to dikki-tikka. Well, he dikki-tikka Concord that evening. You understand? Proper dikki-tikka Concord. So I say to myself, but wait now, there's this same man who was talking about relationship and thing. Number one, didn't have a woman. Number two, find himself with a fluffy prostitute. And number three, dead on top of the fluffy prostitute. What kind of man this is it? You know? Well, I couldn't understand it.
First, Giselle, he was not on those platforms talking about what he wanted and what he was looking for. So, wait, hold up. So
So
at
he
no
likes
point in
fluffy.
time, no point in time, we don't know if it is he like thick sauce, if he like slim sauce, if it is he like, we don't know what was
Or
his
he
No,
likes
no,
men.
no, hey,
perspective,
no,
right?
no. We know he did like the fluffy them because he did on top of
Yeah,
one.
of
So we
course.
know
Yeah,
he
he like
likes
the fluffy
fluffy.
them, he like the fluffy them. Hello.
He likes
You know,
fluffy.
simple as that. But he wasn't on
Man,
there.
look at him, man.
He wasn't on there, right, soliciting for himself. He was literally saying, and he was given statistics. He wasn't just talking off the top of his head. He was given statistics about 75% of men, 10% of men, 2% of men, the under 1% of men, and where they are financially, right? He wasn't talking about himself, right? And saying, here we're going on now. I don't want you to have X weight. I want you to be Y weight. I want you to be wearing. He never said nothing about I himself. He always directed it towards what his statistics showed and what was available in terms of when he does his research. You understand?
Right.
So if it is he like fluffy or he love fluffy, it's okay. Go ahead,
You know what? But he also represented this high value man that he came out as. So if you're saying that he's a high value man and high value man had to get a certain type of woman that look a certain type of way, but you're dead on top of fat thing, which is the same thing you're saying high value man doesn't want. Where are you telling me?
Listen,
man.
Listen, he's representing, but he's not representing himself.
He wasn't talking about himself. He wasn't talking about himself.
All you come better than that. That's gonna be an argument tonight.
Nah, he wasn't talking about himself.
Because he started off as this high value man because men wanted to know how to dress like him as a high value man. So he was giving them.
He wasn't talking about himself, but you can see where the line is blurred. Because
you're representing.
He was representing
high
the
value man.
six-figure men. He was representing the six-figure men.
So if you're representing that's what you present as.
Right.
So when you in debt now and you're in debt of a high value woman.
He wasn't talking about himself, but you can
He's
see
representing the high value man, right? But like
the woman was high value. She wasn't cheap. She was expensive.
And she was
only a high value man can afford that.
You remember for he work.
So wait,
you remember for he work thing, he hired the high value woman who he boss and them also did hire because she's some private escort or something that he did hire because he had the money to hire her, the boss and them like him after that. Yes. So he considers himself a high value man. So he's paying the money, he's looking the part. So therefore that is not matching up with your high value status.
No, oh my goodness.
Wait, hold on.
Please.
Let me ask a question.
Get TF out of here. Get out of here.
Let us hear one thing and then take it all the way to the next level.
No, that's not
true.
true.
My goodness.
No. I'm saying that's where the lines get blurred, okay? Because obviously I understand what Jermaine's saying. He wasn't talking, he was talking generally, not personally. I understand that. But because so the rest of people in the world looking in, he looks and represented as a high value man. You can understand how people got the lines blurred because he's talking about high value men and they're looking at him like he's a high value man. So they are automatically assuming he is also talking about himself or putting himself in that category when he's describing.
He is his brand. He is his brand. He is his brand. He has a personal brand. That's who he is. That's his brand. High value men. That's his brand.
He's not talking about himself, but how he's perceived, isn't it?
1 second. This is again where we're saying you guys are taking something else and attributing it to him because again, when he spoke about himself, if you watched enough of the podcasts, right, fair enough, fine. Both on his own channel and when he was a guest on others, every time he spoke about himself personally and the down failings of all his relationships and his marriages, he always blamed himself. He never ever blamed women. He never ever.
We're not talking about blame.
So listen. So when you lot are saying,
we're talking about how you presented yourself.
Exactly, but that's how
you presented yourself as a high value man. People are not concerned with your past and what you did. We are concerned with what you are presenting as now. Who you are now in the public eye now. That is the irony. That is the irony.
You're not letting me finish, and then you're missing the point because it's still.
No, I'm not. I still have my point. I ain't missed it. It's still there.
Oh God, I can't even laugh. I went to the gym today, sorry, I can't even laugh. Oh.
You know
Can
what this
you
is
guys? Can you
becoming?
guys
What
actually
this
hear
is
me?
coming? Yeah, we can
Yeah, we
hear
can
you.
hear you.
Oh, okay, cool.
You know what this is? This is now black men against black women and black women against black men.
Wrong
Because
again.
this guy came up. No, this is how it's appearing, right?
No,
Because this
sorry,
guy,
that's what
it's
I'm
almost
saying. But
like
we have to
this
stop and
guy was a
listen first.
voice, was a voice for the
Lisa,
black men and things that
Lisa,
they couldn't
listen.
say out loud.
No,
And
hold
women,
on,
were like,
listen.
why you could say that to me? How you could say that to me? Why you saying this to
No,
me? I don't
hold on, listen.
that kind
Listen
of
to
back
this.
and forth now. Well, in
Lisa,
public.
listen.
Hear that,
Lisa,
sir.
listen. Listen to this, right?
I'm
As
listening.
an image consultant, right? He sat there with a clipboard of what, say, 100 men said that they want within their high value, right? Or what they would like from the woman that they would want to date, right? So he sat on his platform, right, of where it is he's looked at 100 men and asked them questions and come up with these 10 questions that he would then ask if and when the woman say, oh, I want a man that's earning 400,000 a year. So he will look on his research and say, okay, what's the criteria for a woman that wants a man who is earning 400,000 a year, right? Because that's his job. That's why that's the image that they're looking for. That's what they want, right? Because that's what they say. This is not what he's saying. This is
No,
what
I'm
they're
just
saying that they
asking you,
want.
why are we going back to that when we actually talking about
Because we still haven't got to the ground level of that yet. Because you're saying that he's talking about himself and he's not talking about himself.
No, I never said that. No, I know. No, I know he's not talking about himself. Okay, I know he's talking generally.
We know. Yeah, we know that.
He's using data, he's using stats. He's always quoting figures. I know
Yes.
this. How much
We
I
know
do
that.
know. What I'm saying is people looking at him because he's quoting these facts and these figures and saying this is what high value men
Then they don't
like.
have enough sense.
Okay, and then they're looking at him as a high value man. So they're ultimately assimilating him with what he's saying. Okay. Right,
which is okay.
Marsha, he presented as a high value man. That's how he presented.
He wasn't actually speaking about himself. Whether he spoke about himself in personal chat shows about his failing in his marriage or was blamed himself, it's either here or there. It always takes two to make a relationship work. So I ain't buying that rubbish. But whatever, he was quoting stats and data, and people looking at him saw him as a high value man and ultimately assimilated him with that. Be it not correct, but that is what actually happened. So I understand
Can I
totally
just
what
make
you're saying, but that's not how the story is. Especially women calling in his show were looking at it like that. They didn't look at it like that.
So,
you guys
then
keep on.
is it
Sorry.
then that it might be correct to say that he died from some high value pussy?
I can't laugh.
I just had to ask the question because you know it's a whole high value thing. So
Let's agree on that one.
man. He get a high value one. She had some high value pussy.
I agree.
And
Let's agree on that one.
He get a high value heart attack.
We back to the cat again. We back to the cat again from the last time.
I know. We're not on cat tonight. We just on pussy. I just asking a question. So influential. Yes. Jermaine, you're on point tonight, Jermaine. Where are you commenting from, Jermaine? I find you're on point. It's funny how none of the guys agree. You know, we definitely have a divergence here on the panel tonight. It's so interesting.
That's
because
it. It's very
everybody have different opinions, and I love it. I absolutely love it, and this is what makes Leon's hot sauce definitely hot. But I want to come to influential, and then I need to touch on Melissa, and I need to touch on Black Star. You know, because obviously you guys have been a bit quiet. Now, aside from the high value pussy that kill him, so influential, is there anything else you want to tell us and educate us about?
High value,
so that we didn't know, or we not touching on.
It's just to add that it still adds to his representation and to his image because it's still him out in the public speaking. So whether he's, because remember, it's because of him speaking on this platform, why he's a guest on the other platforms and he's still speaking on the same issues. So we can't use one brush and use one side of the brush and not the other side of the brush, so to speak. It's again, it's even more interesting to look at and say, again, when you look at the first video that made him go viral, how did the men take that? How did the men like me who are chubby take that? Who are under 6 foot take that? And then who were the people that were laughing and in agreement and in unison and driving that video to go forward and become sensationalized? It weren't men. It weren't men. And it weren't just men. It was mostly women. It was mostly women. So let's flip it now for a moment. If it was a woman, or if there's a woman, like we could say probably the closest person to that would be in the UK would be probably somebody like Oloni, where when they speak on issues like that in relation to men and women run behind it and push behind it, it's never the same energy given. So how do we balance our views on what is acceptable and what is not acceptable when it comes to both describing or giving our opinions and views on what a high value man should be and what a high value woman should be and where they should meet? Because that's ultimately what Kevin Samuels was talking about. It's like, okay, well, if you say you want this from a man but you don't offer this, and you said vice versa, he's saying if you as a man are this, you can't expect to get a high value woman. So why is it when Kevin Samuel says you as a man don't have a big dick, you're not earning enough money, you're not tall, how can you even think about getting any kind of woman, much less a high value woman, if you're not even giving the bare minimum, which as a black man, you're meant to have big dick and money? So why is it that it's okay for that to happen, but then when he's asking women to hold themselves accountable as well, with the same bluntness, there's an issue? Why is that? Why do we have that? And that's the same happening both here in the UK and in America. There's no real difference. Melissa, please, let's hear your viewpoint as well.
Oh gosh. I still feel the same way. When I came into the conversation, I still feel the same way about Kevin. Even though you guys have quoted stats and everything else, stats can be skewed. It doesn't mean that it's facts. It doesn't mean what he's saying is right. Also, even though I haven't watched all of his shows or whatever, the fact that if a guy's making 6 figures doesn't mean that he doesn't want a curvy woman or a woman that's weighing 200 pounds. This was the basis that I saw people being judged on and being belittled and being told they're undeserving of someone that earns 6 figures because they don't look like this or they don't weigh this or whatever. So it's a bit of a give and take. I get the hype. I get that what he was doing was creating that traffic towards his platform and everything else. But to me, it's each their own. There's really each their own on when it comes down to that. Because we've seen it in when it comes to social media, we've seen a lot of people that are making 7 figures and their partners are not like supermodels.
And that's fine too. There's nothing wrong with that too.
So it can happen and it's possible. So to me, even though he's saying, okay, he asks 100 people, there are a lot of he asks 100 men, what do they want in a woman? What about the other millions of men that are out there that have an opinion that earn over 100K?
Yeah.
What happens there?
And it's the same way you can ask 100 women what they want from the man, and then what about the 100 women that don't want that as well? So it's a scaling, it's a weighing of the balancing, and obviously Kevin Samuels is not going to get it spot on for every single person. It's a generalization, but at the same time, it's just like, well, why is one set of people, one gender, more impacted by it than the other? That's the real question. Because when you're looking on social media, it's 90% women that are happy and quote unquote celebrating his death. Why are you celebrating? Why are you happy? Why are you relieved?
Because they're up in their feelings and it's how he made them feel. You know, it's how he made them feel or how they viewed what he was saying. You know what I'm saying? Black Star, you give your 2 cents, Black Star.
Yes, thank you. It's not that we've been quiet. We're just waiting for the chance to speak. So what I found on social media is women actually have the loudest voices on social media. So to echo on Sir Influential's point, when the guy was being belittled, being called names, being called small dick, it was the women laughing at him, right? But if it was the other way around, when another video that went viral, where he asked this girl said, yeah, I make 6 figures, I have a child, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, and you can't use the word 7. She said 8. He goes, nope, you're a 6 and you're an average at best. Guess what? Social media went crazy, and there was all the women calling Kevin Samuels all type of names, but the same energy wasn't for the bigger guy with the small dick. And it's just the same way, like for years, especially black men in London, I'm not sure about other parts of the world, so I digress a little bit. Going into nightclubs in West End, Central London, headache. You had to be dressed to the nines to get in there. Certain times when you couldn't get in, who was laughing at us? Black women. But you don't see black guys going on social media saying, oh, black women hate us, blah, blah, blah. But when black women wouldn't let into the nightclubs and they wanted the support, and black guys said, well, this has been happening to us for years. They're saying you want support. But anyway, back to the point. Whenever I love having this discussion about Kevin Samuels for multiple reasons. When women want to get outraged, first of all, I ask them and say, okay, cool. Do you wish to date the high value man that he is describing? If their answer is no, why are you taking it to heart? Because this doesn't matter to you. It's not your content. It's not for you whatsoever. Number 3 is a case of when you understand what he's asking, and it all brings back to the point. So I've heard everybody's point, and it all brings back to the same way. Yes, he's judging the woman based on their size, their height, their weight, the last time they weighed themselves. And again, it's from the men who he spoke to. This guy was selling packages $600 a pop for men to subscribe to him. Then he now focused on the women because, as I said before, these same men said, we're following your advice, Kevin, but we're not attracting said women. So Kevin said, let me talk to these women. And he's talking to the women. And the women calling are those, yes, they're from America. They're not from London. They're the ones who want to date that type of man and will do the necessary to date that type of man. So I always find it hilarious when mainly women get outraged by the things that he's saying, but it doesn't apply to you. Yeah, it may sound harsh, but it doesn't apply to you. If you don't want to date that type of man and you have no interest dating him, then it doesn't apply to you. Just like, again, to touch on the point that Sir Influential said, you have Oloni and Zizi Mills that kind of put things out there. And even before them, there was Grace Aguilera that was out there. Grace Aguilera built her brand on hating men and saying men are trash, blah, 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 etc., etc. Tutus, Grace Aguilera pops out with a baby. So if men are trash, how did you make a baby? And it's just said things. So
and she didn't go to the sperm bank to buy it, to pick up the child on.
There's a double standard that actually go out there, and women are the majority, and that's the loudest voices. And for me personally, I don't agree with everything Kevin said because there were some things I was thinking, boy, Uncle Kev, you've gone a bit too far. What's wrong with the fluffy women? What's wrong with the women with kids? But when you kind of take it fundamentally, he's kind of asking, like, if you're of a certain age and you're this and that, why should a single man take on another man's responsibilities? And then that's when he draws the point of, you want to place your responsibilities on this man. Why didn't you hold the father of your child accountable? Why do you hold the second father of your child accountable? Why do you hold the fourth father of your child accountable? That was him now trying to bring people together, but people are missing that. All they want to hear is, oh, this woman is 200 pounds. She's like a quarterback. That wasn't for Kevin's preference. He's talking about the basing of the facts of the men he has spoken to. He's not talking generally for a nation of men as the comment that's coming on, and etc. etc. So again, you have to go to the roots. Who's his target audience? Who's he talking to? If it doesn't apply to you, it shouldn't concern you. A saying that we use in West Africa is, you can't take paracetamol for someone else's headache. That's what a lot of people are doing on social media. You're seeing something, you're getting outraged, you want to take paracetamol for their headache. It doesn't apply to you.
And quickly
it really
to add as
doesn't.
well, quickly to
I
add
like
as well.
that. I like that. Wait,
Quickly
so
to add as well.
influential. Before you add your bit so influential, I just want to take my exit now, guys. You couldn't hear all of the commotion that was happening, but there's a lot of commotion happening. I need to depart, and I would like to hand over to influential, whose capable hands you'll be in for the rest of the show. Thank you, everyone. I am signing out. Big up to Jermaine from Tottenham.
Yeah,
And
Goodbye,
everybody else who
N17.
Jermaine.
loves in.
Bye,
So
Jimmy.
love you
Have
guys.
fun.
Love you guys. And I will be
Bye.
sending you.
Enjoy
I'm doing a
Soca
live
Bye
tomorrow
Ibiza.
bye.
from
Bye bye. Bye
Ibiza.
bye.
So
Bye bye.
love you.
Bye
Take
bye.
care.
Take care.
Right, sir, over to you.
And just to quickly to add as well, to couple up to what Black Star is saying, when he also asked women, the high value women, what they want from the men, and it said to these men, yo, you want a high value woman, you want this kind of woman, you want that kind of woman, but you're this, you can't get her. You cannot get her. So he's been doing the same things to both genders. But when it happens to women, there's the, oh my God. But when he does the exact same thing and he says, yo, brother, you're, again, the fat dude. No, bro, you need to lose weight. Oh, bro, you're not earning enough money. How can you want to spoil this woman who's earning this kind of money, who expect this kind of lifestyle, and you're not ready yet? So he's told men, yo, you're not ready yet. Or you need to go out there and you need to be this, you need to do that. You need to improve yourself in different aspects to then be able to meet the needs of the high flying, high caliber women out there. Because the women in America, a lot of them are high flying, high caliber women that if you're not of a certain standard or stature, you can't chat to them. You can't even be in the same social parties as them. So it works both ways. The pendulum swings both ways.
And
So
most of them are single, eh?
Why your face look so?
yeah, Melissa, how do you feel that, going forward now, the what should we say, the dating scene is going to be like now in the US? Because obviously we know that social media impacts a lot of our cultural movements, our societal movements as well. How do you feel like now that the quote unquote, expressions and schools of thoughts that have come through Kevin Samuels will impact people going forward?
I think everybody is going to be fine. Ooh. I think we're going to be okay. I think we're going to be all right. One of the, I don't know if you guys ever heard of Kendra G. She seems to be like paving the wave with like the online dating and everything else, and she has a big following, and
She's
I
good.
think she
She's
gives
really
a very
good
much of a balance with her
Yeah.
approach. Like she says it as it is, but then she isn't like as harsh as Kevin. And then at the same time, I was wondering if Kevin was really on the down low in some of his behaviors, but that's like another topic. But yeah,
Everybody always wants to draw that line.
That's
That
another.
was
That's
a
another
rumor.
good point.
That was a rumor from that
Hold
rumor
on.
been around.
Hold on. That's
People been
another good
asking
point
that
that Kevin
question
used.
for a couple of years now.
dropping it
That's
in
another
there.
point that
Yeah.
Kevin used to raise.
Yep.
He used to say, like, whenever women don't like, some women don't like certain things, their first attack is to say their brother's on a down low or he's
No.
gay. And he will push it to the LGBT community and said, how does that make you feel? Because I know if as a man, if we were to call another man gay for not doing this and that, you'll be holding us accountable saying we're homophobic.
Exactly.
No.
So just to quickly,
and there's one thing, there's a big double standard. I have no problems with double standard, but it's all about being accountable to knowing you have a double standard. Having double standards and denying it is something else.
Hold your hands up and say yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's touch on this question here before we get to the second to last question as well, which is big up Tash. Tash, put it back. Can you put it back up? That's a long question. Can you put it back up, please, so we can see it? So yeah, I remember hearing about this on social media. This is one of the episodes where I didn't catch it in full. So if your daughter reports abuse to the mom, should it end the relationship or question the child, or should you believe the child? Like, how do we feel about, children reporting abuse, especially if you, for example, if you're a woman. So let's ask the ladies. If you're a woman and you're dating a man now, and your daughter comes to you and says, "Hey, this guy's being awkward or abusive towards me," like, how do you take that? Do you side with your child straight away immediately? Do you side with the man straight away immediately, or do you investigate? And if so, how do you investigate? Let's start with Ponder Road.
Okay, so I do have a daughter, and that would be an issue for me. And I think that boils down to the type of relationship you have with your child. If my daughter came to me and said to me, "Mom, the gentleman that I'm seeing is interfering with her," the relationship that we have, I would 100% believe her off the bat. I wouldn't have to go and investigate and ask him. And I don't know about ending the relationship. I would have to maybe stop myself from going to jail. To be totally honest. And if I went to jail, if I kill him and go to jail, I won't be there to bring up my daughter. So it's a catch-22. You know. However, as I say, it boils down to the relationship you have with your child. If you don't have a strong relationship or a strained relationship, it's going to be more difficult. If your child is playing up due to other things, and you can't really understand what's going on and in their life, and they're playing up, it may be difficult to actually figure out, is she actually telling the truth or is she playing up for something else? So it depends on the relationship that you have with your child. And also, as a woman, we all want to be in a relationship and find that person that we can kind of settle down and feel comfortable with. However, I do think there will be signs. I do think there would be strange behavior. And I think if you're bringing someone into your home who's not the biological father, and even if he's the biological father, you still do have to watch and be careful of certain behaviors. And I just think, don't be so blinded by the so-called love that you can't see things that are not going well. So I don't think it's a straightforward kick him out. It all depends on the relationship that you have with your child.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Thanks for that, Ponder Road. Melissa, you wanted to jump in and add something here now as well?
Yeah, I totally agree with Ponder Road, and also kind of so I grew up in Grenada, and you would hear a lot of stories, and having discussions about this is normally quite taboo. So I would definitely believe my child, because I've seen many situations where children have told their parents didn't believe them. They stayed in the relationship, the child continued being abused. I think we have enough trauma that we're dealing with to then add it again into the future generation. So I'll definitely go with what my child's saying. I wouldn't even investigate, to be honest. I'll take it on board just based on my history and what I've experienced growing up, and just what other people have experienced growing up as well. So yeah, that would
Fair
be
enough.
my end.
Fair enough. Totally understandable. That makes sense, and I feel like it's definitely prevention better than cure at this point. Lisa Love, let's hear from you. What are your thoughts on that particular topic?
I mean, I with Marsha, I don't really want to make her jail. So, yeah.
Straight up. Just straight up.
Yeah, because like Marsha said, you just kind of feel things, and you will, as children, you would know when your children lying, depending on the relationship you have with your child. Again, if you don't have a good relationship with your child, you don't know what it is. So I guess that is the foundation. But I might lose my mind a little bit. Yeah, somebody might get some violence might take place. But yeah.
And then to play,
I think any sane, caring, nurturing mother would say that. Like, I don't think you'd have any mother who is into a mother would say differently. I can't. Yeah, I mean, I might be surprised, but yeah, I would hope not.
To add to that as well, I would say humans lie, children lie, but
yes,
but are children gonna lie about that? Children will lie about teething out the ice cream out the fridge, or nyamming off the chicken, or going in your purse and taking £5 or $5 to buy whatever, a sweetie or something. But something like that, I just can't see a child lying about that.
They would find. I mean, there would be questions though. It would be questions. I need to understand what happened, what took
What's
place,
happening.
because then if there needs to be a actual official investigation where there needs to be police involved and that kind of thing, I need to know. So I need to understand, when and how, and then I could track back in my head. Was I at home? Was I not home? What did I notice? That
How
kind
was
of
your
thing.
child
So
moving?
I think there will have to be a conversation. It probably wouldn't happen in the home because I feel like things like that you might need to take out of the home and have it like in an open space where somebody could feel a bit more free to talk.
Yes.
So there definitely will be a conversation with my child, but yeah.
And I think for a child to come to you and tell you that, and it really is happening, took them a lot of courage because it wouldn't just blurt out like, oh yeah, mom, I broke a glass. That's not, I think that do lie and make up those kind of stories. Those kind of things come off their mouth like water. My mum used to be a foster carer, and the amount of stories that I've heard, and know when the ones are lying and when the ones that are telling the truth, because the ones that are telling the truth find it very, very hard to tell their story.
Their story, yeah,
right.
Very hard, because they know a lot of the other their parents are in either financial situation, they won't be believed, or they think, did I do something?
And they're just scared, yeah.
Did I call? Yeah, so it's not an easy thing for a child to come up to you, and you'll must see the fear in them when they're trying to tell you. And I think the children that do lie like nothing, they'll come up with stories. Yeah, he did this. Oh, he did this. Yeah, and that. That's when. But if your child is making up those kind of stories and nothing is happening, that in itself is a problem.
That in itself is a big
So let's hear from the men. Super Trini, how would you feel if
you say hear from the men?
I was saying ask nine.
Or go to nine?
Oh.
Don't forget nine in the corner. Don't forget nine in the corner. She in the corner there waiting.
Yeah, I was like, we can go up there to go there.
I wanted to balance it out and hear from the men before.
Say ask any woman.
You love every time, man.
Yes.
Okay. First of all, when it comes to child abuse and a child is reporting on a situation, I think by default, as a mother, you have to believe your child. It goes without saying. However, it's not unusual, sadly, that there are unfortunately children out there that can sometimes make that up, and then you have to dig deep to find out why they're making such a thing up. I know of an incident where a child had made that up, a relative, and it was investigated, and people were digging deep and everything, and then the child later then admitted, I made it up. So it does happen. However, I think statistically the stats on children making things up, making these types of lies up is a smaller number than the children that are obviously coming forward, having the courage to come forward to report on such things. But yeah, I think by default, I would believe my child. Yes, of course, you would hope to God something like this never, ever happens. But I think just by default, you have to believe your child. And I have seen it on the flip side where people are not believed and it's happening. And, the impact it has on their mental health. I know of a situation where someone has been sectioned because they weren't believed. And unfortunately, because they were sectioned, it now begs the question, were they lying or were they actually telling the truth? And now no one knows because they were sectioned and they're going through their own mental health battles. So, I've also seen it from that angle as well. But I think by default, I think children, they really have that struggle in being believed. And I think you just got to make that judgment call and believe them, because there's too many children being denied of telling their truth, and it happens a lot, obviously, as we know, in the Caribbean.
Definitely. Thank you for that, Nai. And it's such a delicate, tricky situation to handle, because again, especially in the Caribbean, where for us that's a taboo, that's a foreigner thing, that's a European thing, that's an American thing. We don't do these things in the Caribbean. not remembering that, hey, we are heavily influenced by foreign. So sometimes we have to definitely bear that in mind, and know that, hey, we can't just be so quick to turn a blind eye to things of that nature so readily. So yeah, let's hear from the gentleman, like how would you as a father deal with that, gents? Or have you ever been in that kind of situation where you've had to, pick up that kind of conversation with a child, whether it be your own children, or a niece, a nephew, or a younger cousin, or even a family friend's children?
Well, we're all speaking rationally right now, but we know when it's come to you right off the bat, we're not going to be rational about it. We're all going to be irrational. And that's the first step. That's the biggest part, is will you ever be prepared to receive that kind of information? And then in receiving it, how are you then going to delegate your thought process? Because in my personal experience, it would be a case of right. If I had a child and my child said that somebody did X, Y, and Z to her or him, first I was calling the godparents, then I was calling the aunt or my sisters or whatever, and then I say, here, we're going on there. I'm going to be going away for a little while, or they take care of my child, right? Because there is something within the psyche where it is naturally you want to protect that child. And children are always going to be vulnerable, whether they're lying or they're giving a half truth, they're still vulnerable. And if it's a case of the child itself, if it was a lie, they're crying out, as Christina said, they're crying out for help, in attention or whatever, right? So something is already wrong. And if it's a form of abuse, as a man, I can't tolerate it. No way, no how, in any capacity. Like, I'm literally trembling right now, because just the thought process of, if it is, I'm faced with that as a father, I don't know. I really can't say how my rational thought would be. My irrational way would be, all you would see me in 5 to 10. Make sure you send me a little box of chocolates, my favorite things, and put some money in the kitty for me. I'll be back in 5 to 10. Because at least my child would know that I have done something. And it's not the right example. 100% not the right example. But I'm human. And
why isn't it the right example?
Yeah, because I would find that person to be
because there's a double-edged sword. Because you're taking away
a life,
your ability to parent your child. Yes. And your child is going to miss out on that, right? Your child is not going to have that full understanding until 15 years later, 20 years later, of why you did what you did. They would only know that you were here and now you're not here. Why were you not here? Because they wouldn't fully understand. You understand? And children can easily take that as a total negative. You understand? And then they would harbor ill feelings towards you. And then you would be internalizing all the while you're sitting down there, because you know that you've done something to show strength and to represent that I am your protector, I'm your provider, I'm going to be there for you, whether it is you're down and out. If somebody's hurt you, I'm going to protect you. But then in that same breath, you take away a part of their childhood, a part of their upbringing. And that is a double-edged sword. So that's why I say it has a really negative side to your irrational thought, which you never know, how you would respond, and this is something that's, because I've worked with young people and I've worked with children for over 10 years. It's something that's very, very close to me. And also working in supported housing, when you meet young people who have been in those situations for a bigger part of their life, you know, and then you hear stories that their parents are not supportive or their parents left them to it. You know, it makes you cringe because you even have irrational thought at that point, you know, because you want to protect that person. So imagine if they're not even your child and you already have those irrational thoughts. Imagine you trying to be calm, be the adult. It's hard, you know, so there's a double-edged sword. But I would protect and I would take my 5 to 10, or they come and visit me. I will try and make sure I stay close to London.
No problem. Black Star, let's hear from you, bro. How are you? Are you in full agreement? Because everybody's saying the same thing. It's 5 to 10. It's mashup. Obviously, how are you feeling?
I feel everybody has the same feelings and same thought processes, you know, in the sense of like if your child is being abused by a partner, I feel like you have to take whatever the child is saying very seriously. It's like if the child is lying, I would want to know why the child is lying, because there has to be a reason why the child is lying. Like, do you not like this particular person? So they might be doing something, or they might even be stealing from you or saying stuff behind my back. And the only way you know how to communicate to say, yeah, this person is abusing me in some way. So again, we'd have to take it seriously. And if the case of it's malicious, why is you being malicious? Like, we want to get down to the root of it to just find out like what's really going on. But I feel like in a lot of cases, the child is found out to be telling the truth. In what case, I definitely you have to believe what the child has to say. And I feel like obviously, as Super Junior was saying, that we're all talking rationally now, but I feel like the people on the panel, the people listening, I feel like common sense will take over if facing that situation, that you probably won't go too far, because it's like to be absent in the child's life and then it's a double-edged sword. So at a point of view, just feel like, you know what, let me chill for a bit, because my child is going to grow up potentially without me being there. So you'd kind of have to balance it and then try and take it from there. But I'm in agreement with everybody. It's like it's bang out Buddha. Listen to what the child has to say and take it on board.
I mean, I do know someone who their daughter, well, she said she was raped, but not by it was by a supposedly boyfriend that she was going out with, and she rang the police and told everyone that he raped her, and she went through the whole procedure of, you know, being checked out and stuff like that. And literally the same night, I heard that her dad literally went down to where this boy was supposed to live, and like it was literally, you know what I mean, on his way to draw blood. And the police were there and they just stopped him, and it was like, yeah, we're here, like, calm down. And it was a good thing the police were there, because literally in the space of 48 hours, we found out that she lied.
See?
But why did she lie?
Because
if you can share.
Because he didn't want to go out with her no more.
Wait, so who lied? The mother or the child?
The child lied.
The child lied.
Oh, okay.
Lied on her boyfriend.
Oh, she lied on her boyfriend.
But her dad, but same thing.
Yeah.
He was troubled. He went down to the boy's house, ready to draw blood, and the police apparently were there. And people said the police stopped and they were like, "No, we're here. We've got his underhand." And it's a good thing, because in the space of 48 hours, it all broke down.
Yeah.
And she lied. You know what I'm trying to say? And if he had got there before the police,
what
that
then?
would have been it. He would have been dead. He would have all for what? Because she was just feeling spiteful because he dumped her.
And that's an issue we have in our society sometimes. Like, not all, but some girls know that they've got that power behind them. Should things not go their way or something, they can say, yeah, it wasn't consensual, or he forced himself upon me, and this, which makes it harder for other women to be believed. So I don't know how we can try and help improve that, but that is just very dangerous. Like, it's a very, very dangerous, thing to happen. Like, her dad could have lost his freedom because of her actions.
Exactly.
Show you, as a parent, like most parents will automatically believe
the
child and wouldn't even ask questions. They would just go full 100 for their child, and like maybe slightly different if it's a partner that's abusing your child. But in her situation, she was slightly older and it was her boyfriend, but still it could have been a really detrimental outcome.
Exactly, definitely. So that was a nice, definitely a nice side topic to this to go into. Just to come back full circle into the whole Kevin Samuels thing. Wanted to lastly touch on the issue or the idea of karma. Is karma a real thing? If Kevin Samuels was a woman, would the response be the same? Would the energy be the same towards him? So if it was a woman saying the exact same things, would the energy and response be the same? Like I remember in that clip that started the podcast today, we saw Vivica Fox clearly stating that she's happy that basically that good riddance to him. Like if it was a woman, would Vivica Fox still have the same energy? Would social media still have the same energy? Let's hear from the panelists. Shall we start with Nai first this time? Nai, let's hear from you.
I feel like if there was a female version of Kevin Samuels, that they would have been cancelled ages ago. I feel like looking at some of you lot's faces, you gents' faces. I feel if there was a female version of Kevin Samuels, I think they would have been cancelled ages ago. Especially if it's a black woman. Maybe if it's a white woman, they will still be out here on the streets doing the most. But honestly, I feel like if it was a black woman and it's the equivalent of Kevin Samuels, they would have been cancelled ages ago. 100%. I'm very confident with that. Because when there is strong, opinionated black women who do get their points across in the most articulated way possible, the most diplomatic way possible sometimes, they've just been they people always go ham on them. People are dragging them, coming for them. We see it all the time with Zizi Mills. She's a perfect example of that. A black woman who's very opinionated, but I think she articulates herself very well, and people do come for her. You see it in the comments all the time. You could just go into Shade Bar, could be anything. She could be just voicing her opinion on something and people are coming for her. It's like she's not entitled to her own opinion, and it's just like, well, where do you draw the line? I thought there's this whole thing of, as we say, freedom of speech, but is it really freedom of speech? Because when people then do voice their opinions, people are coming for you. People want to cancel you. How dare you have that opinion? Let me cancel you. It's very stupid.
Just to quickly add, so are we seeing with Kevin Samuels, are we seeing the highest heights of cancel culture with Kevin Samuels passing? Because we're literally seeing people cancel him even in death. Like, yeah, he's cancelled even more now. Like, yeah, good riddance. Like, great. Jermaine, I would definitely disagree with you. Zizi Mills does articulate herself very well. I will agree with Nai. She is attacked and chastised much, and I think that's because she's a dark-skinned woman as well, and she holds her own very well, and she asks the questions that she wants to ask. Of course, nobody's going to be always right and perfect with the articulation and the delivery of the message or the delivery of their point on their podcast. We're not perfect. We're not trying to be English literatures or English scholars to the finest.
So influential. Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
You said, especially as she is a dark-skinned woman. Could you give me an example of a light-skinned woman who's just as opinionated or near enough that doesn't have, where people don't have that same energy for them? As an example. Who?
Bob Risky.
Who's that?
That's the Nigerian social media person that is always on the streaming platforms talking about relationships and.
Sorry, they're female.
Now, yes.
What?
Yes.
Wait, what? Sorry, what's in it?
That's why I paused, because I was thinking,
Yeah, that's the truth. That's the truth. And also, okay, if we look at it,
that's a whole other topic.
Yeah, but I
Hey
wish
guys,
Melissa was still here.
they're on IG, right?
Yeah, well, I wish Melissa was still here. So when you look at the podcasters in America, there's one of the major ones that it's a lot of light skinned women on the podcast and white men on the podcast that are speaking to a mixture of men in the room as well. And a lot of them don't get cancelled for their outrageous opinions. It's not the case. It's literally, and even to even touch on furthermore with ZZ Mills, like when she's gone on platforms with other higher flying quote unquote black influencers who are men, and she's been questioned about how she delivers her views and expressions. It's like, wait, hold on, but you're not perfect either, mate. You've had shortfalls here. You've walked off sets here. You've done this here and done that here. So when she shows them the mirror of themselves, they don't like that. And that is there's one thing I don't like with people and with men. Like when sometimes we get shown our mirror, we don't like it, especially when it's coming from our women, because the women show us our mirror in the probably sometimes the biggest, widest, cleanest possible way. So yeah, but let's definitely quickly hear from Lisa and then come to Black Star. Lisa, I think you wanted to mention something in relation to if Kevin Samuels was a woman, would the energy still be the same?
Oh, I'm with Nye. It's not going to be the same. It's not going to be the same. Listen, this goes back to an episode we did. We as Black, we just don't feel safe. We don't feel safe to have an opinion. We don't feel safe to express that opinion. We don't feel safe. We're being policed. Everything about what we do is being policed. That's how we feel. This whole thing with Kevin Samuel, I think it has other issues because, like we said, if I, let's say I was doing that on my relationship page, and talking to women, like, so going back to what Super Trini said earlier, where he was actually helping the Black community, and he would say that he would hire them if they could do the job, and he was doing well for the community and stuff. My thing is, one, we don't speak to our sons in the same way that we speak to our daughters. Yeah, we all know. I think it's Sizzler or Chronix or somebody said it in one of their songs years ago. How you speak to the daughter, you have to speak to your woman differently than how you speak to the man. And if you're saying that you're trying to help these women, the way that he spoke to these women was not a good thing. It just wasn't. I feel like we're all in agreement with that. It just wasn't. You cannot heal. You cannot feel like you're going to be you know what, this guy's really talking the truth. We as women, we can't see to that because, as you all always remind us, we're emotional. We're not logical. We're not as logical as you. So you have to talk to our emotions and be like, you know what, ma'am, this is why this is not going to work. So for me, that's what I had a problem with. And if it had a Black woman doing the same thing that he was doing, or if I did that on my platform, I mean, people will probably be like, yeah, she telling it as it is, and you can't handle it, and blah, blah, blah. I'll be called aggressive, I'll be called rude, I'll be called disrespectful, I'll be called a bitch, I'll be called all the words in the dictionary that I already am probably. But yeah, it's just not nice. It's not nice. I don't know who died and made him, the Jesus of holding all Black women accountable, because it seems like that is the main thing that a lot of the men are holding on to. Not saying you guys, but that's what I'm seeing online. He held women accountable, blah, blah, blah. How are you going to hold somebody accountable when you're effing them up? That's not going to work. If I want to hold my man accountable, I ain't going up in his face and be like, yeah, and you're supposed to be accountable for that, blah, blah, blah. Basically, that's what it felt like he was doing. So I feel like if it was a Black woman doing that, whether she was too dark, brown skin, whatever, I don't think, like Nye said, I don't think she would have lasted very long. That's just me. I think we need to understand that as women, we need to be spoken to and treated differently. I'm not here to compete with no man. I can tell you that free of charge. I'm here to just sit and wallow in my feminine energy and let all your man things, and I over here do all my woman things. But I know one thing you ain't gonna be doing is speaking to me like that. I can tell you that free of charge. So yeah. But somebody just German, you speak to them calmly. The point is, you just have to talk to women differently. We're not gonna respond to that kind of way of speaking to us. For us, it comes across as emotional. We're gonna get emotional about it. So you're not gonna get the response that you want. Just like when men say, oh, as soon as I walk through the door, you have what kind of thing to tell me? Let me just relax first. You can't talk to your man when he just come through the door. You ain't gonna get the response that you want. It's the same thing. You have to find that way to speak to people. And it just wasn't nice. But I don't think as a woman, a black woman, I would have lasted long with that kind of behavior. It just wouldn't work. But that's my general take on everything.
Thank you, Lisa. Definitely interesting, and you're right. It's important to definitely speak to the feminine energy, especially black women. We need to be much more mindful, women to women and men to the women as well. Definitely. So yeah, Pon the Road. What are your views on that? If the whole situation of the karma, if Kevin Samuels was, if you were Kevin Samuels, do you feel like you'd have lasted that long?
Oh hell no.
Guyanese and all, Pon the Road and all, blogger and all.
Nah. I don't think it wouldn't be accepted. It would be come across either as the angry black woman, we're bitter with this.
We're bitter. They love that word, that bitter word.
Yeah, it wouldn't go down the same. It wouldn't. Even though, the mindset may be the same, that you got the same business plan, you're trying for the sensation, you're trying for the drama, the bad news sales aspect, all that, it just wouldn't. It wouldn't. That's because people don't like to see women like that, especially black women and dark-skinned black women. Like it's also like, how dare you, like, don't you know your place, kind of thing. As a dark-skinned woman, like, you kind of sometimes feel like you're supposed to know your place in society. You know what I mean? I suppose for the karma situation, I do believe in karma. I do believe in what you put out comes back to you. Maybe not so much in the sense of Kevin Samuels, but in generally in life, I do believe what you put out definitely comes back to you. So I just say to everyone watching the live and in general in life, just try live good, innit? It's really that simple.
Fair enough. Totally understandable there. And yeah, it does also, I like the point that you made about how dare you, who are you? Because again, when we look back at when Kevin Samuels just started out and he was doing the whole trying to motivate and encourage black men to be better, do better, it wasn't well received. So it's like, who are you to tell us how to be and how to dress and how to conduct ourselves? Like, how dare you? Who are you? Like, you ain't done nothing, you ain't achieved nothing yet. So it's like, no matter which side of the spectrum you're on, you can't really win, can you? Because if you're a black man trying to appease to the men at the time and say, yo, men, I'm holding you accountable. First and foremost, you need to up your game. You need to do this. You need to dress this. You need to be working 60 hours a week. You need to keep in shape. You need to read and build on and get high level income skills. You need to be able to express yourself better. The men are not absorbing it. They're not taking it as much as they should. And then even the wider society that includes women as well. But now when he switches his attention to the women and saying, oh, hold on, let me basically do matchmaking, there's more of a buzz, there's more of a reception. So it makes you wonder, like, what is it that drives, or what is it that people look at and look for to see, to make you say, oh yeah, all right, cool, you're this now, so I can take what you say with any level of credibility or any level of interest and holding in and taking it in. Trini Vibes, what do you think?
Good evening once again, everybody. Over the last week, I had the opportunity to speak to quite a few people because I knew what topic was coming, and I spoke to a lot of my friends who are a lot of women, and I actually even sat down in a salon where there was about 8 women, and all of them echoed this. They said, I didn't really watch much of anything he said. From the time he started saying something I didn't like, I switched it off. You understand? So then more and more when I heard that, I said, okay then, so how can you give an opinion of somebody if you don't have enough information in front of you? And I wrote down, content gives context, right? And gives full scope. When Vivica felt like, she really rubbed me up the wrong way when she put karma into it, because it's as if, well, she was saying that his demographic of women was why he died, right? when what he was talking to and the woman that he was speaking to and about what they were coming to him and talking to him about, he wasn't using any of that for himself. He openly said, yeah, I meet up with women from the same, the same platform. I meet up with women from the same platform all the time. He even said that on one of his podcasts, and he said, I even speak to people when they DM me, I speak to them, but I can't really talk about everything. And if you're talking about karma, when you openly give your opinion, right? And it's for that person either to take it on board or to discard it, right? If that's how it is, they see it because they're not just basing this opinion from up in the air, They were asked questions, they were given the opportunity to speak their truth or whatever their understanding is, and as Jermaine said, he was always calm. He was always calm, He was always calm until when it is they hear something that would trigger them, right, in one way or another, they would then go off on a tangent, and then once they go off on a tangent, it made it impossible because their minds are closed because they're only fixed on that, and they're not really listening to the full scope of what is being said. In terms of if it was a woman, openly, women discard men like that, right? Openly, they literally say whatever they want to say about men, regardless. And we just have to take it on the chin. We can only just try to represent ourselves individually as best as we can, but sometimes we all get hit with the same lash, We all get the same things put upon our heads as whatever is out there. And it's difficult because, don't get me wrong, it's the same on the other shows on the other foot with women. We will sometimes look at a group of women and say that this is how they are, and look at them that way. But when we look at social media, as Shermaine said as well, women take us to just hit us hard. And if it is a man openly comes out and says derogatory stuff or something left, watch me, all hell breaks loose. All hell breaks loose. And that's the ebb and flow. And I understand that people are full of opinions, but I will always come back to my first point. We have lost a lot of our humanity, where social media is concerned. And we find it so easy to downgrade somebody, to rip someone apart, because of their point of view, because of their opinions, which they're totally entitled to, especially if it's asked of them. If somebody asks you your opinion or they want to get some information and you give them what they've asked for, it may not come out the right, sparkly, pearly, white, sexy looking way. It won't be dripping with all that sauce and everything that you want. You understand? But if it is you listen, and that's the most important part, if you listen to the content, right, you would recognize that a lot of what he said, and a lot of women literally said, you know what, a lot of what he's saying makes sense, And I'm not saying this I'm talking about a lot of the women that I've spoken to, they're like, you know what, a lot of what he says makes sense, but still his delivery really puts me off. And I even before the show today, I sent a few clips to some of my friends because they said, I don't even know who he is, And when they said they didn't know who he was, I sent the clip of what Vivica A was referring to. I sent that one first, right? And it's like, how could he say that? And I said, hold up, let me send you something else that totally relates to what he said, because content gives you better context, And when they did that, they come around and say, you know what? I kind of understand what it is he's saying now. His way of articulating it wasn't great, but when it was broken down, you can understand what he was talking about, the demographic he's talking to, and why he's saying it the way he is. And if it is we don't want to take on board the full content, hush your mouth.
Simple as that. Yes, thank you so much for that, Super Trinity. Black Star, what are your views, my brother?
Yeah, so just to go on a few points. I believe there are many female versions of Kevin Samuels, but they're in smaller pockets all over social media, spewing their agendas. And sorry, disclaimer, I love all women. So just to put it out there, I don't have anything against women, but there are many women out there who are spewing their agendas against black men. So they are like the mini versions of Kevin Samuels. Someone bigger, and now I'd like to know your opinion. Do you think Wendy Williams is a similar version to Kevin Samuels?
Very interesting.
That's an interesting question, actually.
Because she's done and said some controversial things.
She has said a lot of controversial things, definitely. But I think her style is so much more different, obviously very different from Kevin.
Is that because she's a woman? Is it just because she's a woman?
You know what? I don't like Wendy Williams. I find her really annoying.
She's messy.
Yeah,
She's messy.
I was gonna say a lot of women don't like Wendy.
She's
That
rude.
is true.
Just like Kevin, she's rude. She's rude. So maybe, and I
Yeah,
didn't think about-
maybe.
she's rude. I don't like her neither because I wouldn't ask her nothing neither. So
I feel the difference between Kevin and Wendy is
Marsha,
Wendy actually loves the mess. Do you know what I'm saying? Wendy loves the mess.
Yeah.
Whereas Kevin tries to hit you and be like, there's this. Where Wendy's like, based off her feelings, it just runs with their agenda. And then even when wrong, she has to come and apologize, or she's just wrong and strong, in that opinion. So that's what I would say as the female version.
I was actually gonna say with Wendy Williams, actually. I mean, first of all, I like Wendy Williams. I love the show. I do like Wendy Williams, right? Not everything that Wendy Williams say I agree with. No, definitely not. And she is controversial. But essentially, guys, she is literally doing her job.
Yeah.
She is literally doing her job. You know what I mean? This is, we got to remember her beginnings. How did she start? She was a radio host, and she'll be that radio host that will ask the questions that everybody wants to know but is too scared to ask. She had the balls to ask the question.
All pun intended.
Right? She wants to be in the people their business. She doesn't want to mind her business and drink her water and mind her business. She was in the people them business. You understand? But where Wendy went wrong, or does go wrong at times, is that sometimes she's talking or reporting on things that is very sensitive, and people do find it offensive. You know what I mean? I think there was that story some years back. Is it Method Man or one of those rappers where their missus was diagnosed with cancer or something?
Bad vibes.
You know what I mean? And she was talking about it, and they themselves did not make it public knowledge that was what was going on.
Yeah.
You understand? So things like that is wrong.
Yeah.
I don't agree with things like that. Definitely not. But do I like Wendy Williams? Yes, I do. Is she controversial? Of course she is.
Yeah.
But she is doing her job. She is meant to be spreading the news of tea. It's about the tea. Just like we are all here sitting down, voicing our opinions and spilling out the sauce, the hot sauce, the pepper sauce. You get me? So
extra Scotch bonnet. But yeah, so with so to touch on ZZ Mills, I'm a fan of ZZ Mills, but at the same time, I'm quite critical of her because, as Jermaine rightly said, her energy is dependent on who she's interviewing. If you look at her interviews where she's interviewed Ashley Waters, Pastor Toby, let me just say masculine guys, right? Guys who can hold their own. She don't ask them silly questions. She's very humble and toes the line. But if it's guys she doesn't really have respect for, she starts asking silly questions like, do you give head? Do you give this? Or she goes into arguments and stuff with them. So her energy is quite dependent. And I feel the reason why a lot of the scene get onto ZZ Mills is because sometimes she speaks on business that she doesn't that she's not well versed on, as if she knows everything about it. And that's the problem that ZZ faces, and that's the backlash. And I've been made, as Jermaine said, Beanie Man. She was very humble with Beanie Man. But yeah, over the years, I've been made aware that we as men, not just black men, we as men in general, we have privilege because we're men, and sometimes we don't see that. So we're afforded a certain amount of affordability, get away with things and other stuff, which I'm very aware of, and I feel like not many men are aware of that.
That's
and in
true.
that regard, I know that especially our black women, they're literally just put down, like, and it just stems from, not to go back to history, but just stems back from slavery, like, to women to be seen and not heard. And with black women, they're just literally just down the line. We don't really want to hear you. We want to hear you a bit, but you have to be at this level and like toe the line, just that. And I feel like it's the same with black men as well. Like, we can't be on certain media publications and speak our voice. Even look at sports pundits on like Sky Sports, BBC News. The black men are kind of there for comedic effect. They're not there for their expert opinions and other things and stuff like that. But again, not to take away from the fact that black women are very marginalized, the voice will not really want to be heard. You see how Afua Hirsch and Dr. Shola Shogwomami Banu gets disrespected on a daily by the likes of Piers Morgan and other stuff. But the producers allow that stuff to happen, which is not right. They literally allow that stuff to happen.
And to couple on to what you're saying as well, in relation to the privilege that men have, it's also stemming from a fact that if I'm a man and I'm interviewing someone like, for example, let's argument say Super Trini and you, Black Star, you come into my studio and I'm interviewing you guys. You guys are able to, if I pass the line, you're not only able to verbally correct me, you can physically harm me.
No, brother.
Just for my sake. Whereas when it's the women now questioning the men, the women don't have that macho-ness to say, well, hear what? If a man feels like he wants to take it more than outside the studio, then boom, bam. Whereas we've seen it on a lot of the podcasts and platforms, and even like stuff like Breakfast Club in America, where whenever it's like the gangster rappers come on the podcast or the show, you can't ask them certain questions. A man tell you straight, shut up, don't ask me that.
Put some respect on it.
And then, all right.
Put some respect on it.
All right. And then they go on to say to like, and then like what you said about Zizi Mills, like, if you're not versed about that, you can't speak on that because you're not from that. You don't know that. And then you always see the male host will just humble themselves. The female host has always been quiet because she don't speak on nothing that she's not versed in. But the male host now, who's trying to get the juice, who's trying to get the sauce and the tea and stir the pot, he has to then take a nice back seat back now, and then now the person being interviewed will then turn the energy to the female host and say, yo, you ask me a question now because my man chatting foolishness. You understand? And then that's when you get now the questions about sex and relationships and love and how you feel the music or your project or your brand might be going forward and stuff that we want to hear about as well, and not just the quote unquote clickbait things as well, because it's all good. Yes, we need a bit of clickbait, but it's easy to get that divergence. So for me, I do feel like if Kevin Samuels was a woman, it would have been the same response. Like, he would have gotten that same kind of backlash because of just the way how social media is right now and the kind of things he's saying. And if a woman saying it, like, it would be the same kind of energy. It's like, hold on, because people are very, as we've come to realize, very sensational, very hyper sensational as well. So they'll be like, oh my God, yeah, good riddance. It's a lot of good riddance. Yeah, come off of social media. No, we don't want you on here. And it's like, I feel like we've seen the epitome of what cancel culture can look like. Where it's like, right, even in death, and this is going back to what Sibuchi said at the beginning, like, people are still, they're stamping your cancellation on your tombstone. Like, they want you to be remembered as, that guy, we cancelled him a couple of years ago. Damn, it's been 5 years since he passed. Bloody hell. And here we have it. So it's such a very awkward and yeah, let's ignore that. Hi.
I'm blocking.
And then yeah, and it's just
today,
it's just a very awkward thing to watch and notice and see. So it's been a very enlightening conversation and topic to see how karma works, how privilege works both ways, and how we can better communicate with each other on relationships and, you know, just interacting as men and women towards each other, and also navigating that social media space, because it shows that you can easily build yourself up as a platform from sensationalizing relationships. Like, because I'm sure if it was a white man saying this about white women, it would get the same hype as well. And then it would be the same outrage. So it's not just a black man thing, it's just a man and woman thing as well. And that makes you stop and wonder, say, what can we do better? Perhaps. What can we do more of? What can we change? Any last comments? Black Star, let me go to you.
Yeah.
When you said about sorry, go on.
Go on. You go.
No, I was just saying quickly on that point about, if it was, white people, that it would have been the same thing. But you don't, this is the problem, innit? You have black men, or some black men, who are bringing down black women and doing it regularly and publicly and all of that. But you would never hear a white man be bringing down black women.
No, I don't believe that. You do. We just don't watch their shit.
Where? How? When? Give an example.
Hold on. Women, or white women and white men, they've had not the same, they've had that scenario where men have dictated to women on what they should do.
Yeah, they started that.
Dynamic is across all races, especially in the Western Hemisphere. I mean,
in general,
it's just not on our radar.
It's not
on our radar. We concentrate on what we are, who we are. You understand? That's not our demographic. If it is we were in tune to that demographic and we wanted to learn, or you wanted to do a case study, then you would start to tune and you would ask questions to go that direction. But it's not in the face.
I've got white friends, not a lot, but I've got white friends, and they talk same shit amongst themselves. So
it's the same thing. Prime example, like when you're in Brixton on a certain night, you're like, rotted. Where all these people come from? Not remembering that, hey, you have neighboring areas like Stockwell, Clapham, Peckham, Torsil, Streatham. So they're there. Just because you come to Electric Brixton for bus pepper, and then you don't come for I love funk.
Electric Brixton isn't even a traditional black venue, so I'm sure it started out in rock. It started out in rock, innit? Rock music.
Exactly. So we're sharing the same experiences and spaces, just that we're focusing on what matters to us because we are a people.
No, I get that, guys. I really do get that, but I know that is a point that has been made several times on several platforms and podcasts and things like that. But I'm still, like I said, give me an example. Someone who's if there's a white person that's that controversial, right? A white guy that's that controversial where he's going ham on his white women.
I don't watch their stuff. I can't. I don't.
I know, but if they were that controversial, we'll know about it. There will be a viral moment. We go viral.
Nye, I'm with you on this, Nye. I think the same thing as I'm.
Then we'll have a viral moment.
Yeah.
Let me show you a thing. Do you know about the viral white comedian that said if he was on the stage when Will Smith slapped him, it would have went down differently?
No.
Why don't you know
about a few of them that said that?
I believe I stumbled.
I don't know what their names are, but a few of them came out and said stuff like that.
What's the main one? There's one main one.
No, I don't know. I don't know names.
Ricky Gervais.
I don't know names.
Not Jim Carrey. Not Jim Carrey. It's Ricky Gervais.
I know Jim Carrey had a lot to say.
It's Ricky Gervais.
We're debating about it. We don't know, yeah? Because if we knew, you would say. Obviously, we don't know.
No, I am aware.
You're aware, but you don't know because you can't just put the name.
Yeah, I am aware. No, what I'm trying to say, I'm aware of, like, there's certain white celebrities or podcasters or whatever, or bloggers or whatever you want to call them, that have said controversial things and have had backlash. I mean, look at the one that was a month ago. That guy, forgot his name now. He was talking what's it called? They wanted to cancel him, or people were like complaining about getting him cancelled off. Is it Spotify?
Joe Rogan.
And he's got like the biggest podcast out of everyone. He's a white guy who says a lot of controversial stuff, you know what I mean? Then you've got Katie Hopkins is another one, you know what I mean? So I'm saying there will be viral moments where if these things are really being said, like, I'm sure we'll get to know about it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, definitely. Any final remarks, folks?
Yeah. So what I wanted to say is like, rest in peace, Kevin Samuels. Rest in peace, Kevin Samuels. But then at the same time, like free talking with black women who definitely share the same opinion as Lisa and I, is like the few I spoke who said that they don't have a problem with what Kevin is saying. It's just how he said it, and not only that is the little minions like he has produced now, because you have these fake sort of guys now who believe they want to be like Kevin and do his content, but they're the ones who are actually being disrespectful. So to answer your question, Jimmy, Fresh and Fit, they're idiots, right? They're idiots. They're nothing like what Kevin Samuels did. They actually degrade black women in aid to date the exotic women and all stuff like that and everything. So whilst Kevin Samuels was doing what he was doing, unfortunately he has given birth to some any guys, giving them a voice to just have a platform and just spew nonsense about black women. So he has so many complaints and everything, but I just feel we say this every single time when we have these sort of discussions about black women, black men. We just literally just need to just try it and just love each other. We need to watch more of Jane Elliott stuff and become more humanitarians first.
I love her.
And look after everybody. You know what I'm saying? And that's just my view. We just need to love one another, and men just need to be a bit more accountable. We need to love our women more, and as Lisa said, we need to learn how to deal with them. Speak softly. They can't deal with all this. Like, you know,
soft life for the ladies, them.
Soft life, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Lisa,
There you go.
let's any final comments from you, Lisa?
I had a point to make earlier. Just let this part sink in. So 70% of his following this is from analytics.
Yeah.
Was black women.
For Samuels,
Yeah. But the twist to that, which I was going to bring in earlier, is it because as black women we enjoy bringing down or the demise of other black women?
I didn't want to bring it. I didn't want to.
It's like there's
something I wanted to bring in earlier, but
there's a sprinkle of that.
You should have added that because then.
You know what it is?
I was trying to do it earlier, but when I wanted to bring the twist, somebody else had to talk. So I just
it's the drama. It's the TV drama effect. That's what it is. Oh my god, it could be. It could be.
I personally feel like it's like
actually it's 70 something percent. This is analytics. So
so you see,
I follow, right? So this is analytics. This is somebody who did the analytics for his following and his page, his YouTube, everything, right?
Yeah.
And the 70-something% of his following are black women.
Yeah.
But if we're saying the argument we're having, or the point or the opinion that we're having as black women here on this panel, that it was about how he made our fellow black women feel, why is it that so many regular black women, because half of them wasn't calling on the show, they were just following, is it that they're wallowing and excited and she just fat, she can't get a woman, in the demise of other black women that they didn't know?
I spoke about this today with one of my friends.
That was my twist for earlier, but
I feel like some of them want to learn.
Now
that's one of the biggest things. That's one of the biggest issues with especially within our community, where it is women. I literally would sit down and hear women bashing women hard, going at them hard because maybe how they dress, their weight, or who they liming with, why they with this person, why like it gets so petty, right? It gets so petty. And don't get me wrong, fellas just do the exact same thing, You understand? But the difference for me is when women say, "Oh, I love to empower my other black women and stuff like that," and then you hear them saying something downgrading or degrading about another woman, you're like, come on, you can't. If you think they want to be two-faced like that, you understand, man? At least just be two-faced, be straight with it. And it's so frustrating, Lisa. I wanted to say it earlier, and I held myself back from saying it,
Yeah.
I literally had to chain my whole tongue to the back of my neck from saying it, because when I was watching some of these videos, right, and you were seeing other girls in the comments, and they were literally like, duh, like, what's wrong with you, woman? Like, seriously? Like, what is really going on with you? Why are you sounding so stupid? Why are you being so dumb? And then you're hearing other women saying, oh, why is he talking to her like that? Or why is he talking about, why is he talking to her? And it's like, wait a minute. Are you not seeing how this other woman is carrying on? Or how these other women are carrying on to this woman? So it will always come back to perception, how you choose to see it, how you choose to take it upon you. I'm going to make my last point now so influential, so that'll come back to me. I am not a 100% advocate for Kevin Samuels. Let me make that clear, because I articulate myself well enough that I try not to disrespect or step on anybody's toes. But you will always end up stepping on somebody's toes, because you can't expect to please everybody. You understand me? My opinions are based on me literally sitting down and taking on some of the content and seeing how it can be easily misconstrued. And in Kevin Samuel's case, it's sad that he's passed away, but his contribution to us, especially right now, we're walking away. A lot of us may walk away still thinking the exact same way. But to some of our viewers, they would literally probably say, let me go and watch a little bit more. Let me fully kind of like digest what it is he's saying, So he's opened the doors for some people, you understand? And that's the most that we as individuals can do, you understand? Give our perspective and allow people to either learn, grow, or throw it away, So thank you so much for having me once again. And it's always been a pleasure. I love all you. Hot sauce, I love all you too. I do love what's your name again? Where's the host name again? What's your name?
Giselle, you're so
Yeah.
silly.
Yeah.
Pond the road, yes. Let's say your final comments, and then we'll end with 9.
Me, I don't wish ill health or death on anybody. He's still a human being, somebody's father, brother, uncle, son. So in that respect, his family must be sad and going through a hard time. I said it earlier, I didn't buy into the whole thing anyway. Me personally, I didn't buy into it. I just saw it as it was a money-making opportunity. He's a good businessman. He saw a gap in the market. It didn't work for the men, but he saw it working this way around, and he ran with it. And, some people took it too seriously. And in the process, he made many women feel uncomfortable. And that's what happened, and it is what it is. And yeah, just move on, really. Like, I think a bit too much energy has been wasted on Kevin Samuels. I do. I think too much energy been wasted on him. He did what he did. He made his money. Unfortunately, he died at a young age. I hope he left it to a good charity if you don't have children or something. I don't know. What else do you want me to say? Like,
Fair enough. Thank you so much, Pond the road. 9.
I would start off by saying that, RIP to Kevin Samuels. As Marsha rightly said, this is someone's son, uncle, brother, father, you know what I mean? It's sad because he was a young guy, but you know what? No disrespect to him. At least he went out and he went out in a good way, man. Yeah, he went out on a fluffy. He went out in a good way. Sophia, whatever she name. Yeah, he went out in a good way, man. A lot of people wish they could go like that. So, you know what? At least he did what he liked. He loved. Okay, so I'll put that to one side, right? But also to touch base on what Super Trini was saying earlier, and also what Lisa was saying, the fact that there was 70%, analytics stated that there was 70% of his audience were women, probably Black women, we're going to assume. And I feel like one day we need to do a show on that particular topic regarding hypocritical Black women who obviously go on about their sisterhoods, this, that, but are they really cheering their other sisters on?
Are you providing security? Are you providing security for that show?
Now we
Listen,
need to
we are
do
very fair.
now
Very
we need
fair.
to do an in
We
studio
do.
live session where all of us
Yeah, that's fine. But like, I'm talking the things them. I've seen it for myself. I've experienced it for myself. You understand? And I remember 2 years ago, sadly, when George Floyd passed away. You remember that there was this oath that the sheep was doing on social media, right? Where they post what is it, a black and white picture. I do not tear down my brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
Mario formative.
Don't get me started now. Oh gosh.
Listen,
Right.
I take it to myself, but wait, no. I see one girl who said, I don't tear down my brothers and sisters. I'm like, this bitch was trolling me a month, 2 months earlier.
Let's not digress too much.
me.
Let's not digress too much. We want to save
No,
that. for the next show.
we're talking about the relationship with the woman
It's
and why they
an example.
the demise of other
is
women.
another
Yeah.
It's a valid example here, right? And I was like thinking to myself, but wait, no. Only 2 months ago, you're dragging me in on the internet.
You know what the problem is now?
Bright, bold, and getting all your friends, all your cheerleaders to do the exact same thing, but you don't tear down your brothers and sisters. Whatever, sister. Yeah? So all I'm saying to the audience at home and everybody watching and anyone that's going to be watching this back, we are going to have a Slayer's Hot Sauce on this particular matter. Very close to my chest.
Very.
This has been the hot sauce for this week. This is the Ibiza edition special. I'd like to thank my panelists again, being Lisa Love. Make sure you check out her Instagram for all relationship advice and coaching. Make sure you check out Black Star for all your masculine needs. And
comedic commentary, I'm just vibes.
Sports. Of course, make sure you follow Pond the Road on all platforms as well, so you can keep up with all the carnival and soca cultural blogging. And for the best Trini vibes, just vibes, doubles, food.
No, but hear this now. Why just we didn't talk about Johnny Depp and
that's for next show. That's for next show.
I'm not interested in that.
Still going.
That's for next show. And
we're going up time for that one.
Super Trini vibes for the Just Vibes family again. And of course, I've been your co-host, Sir Influential, Flag Sound, Flags 365. Make sure you follow those pages as well. And the lovely big boss herself, Nice Slayers, for putting this together for another fantastic episode. Please remember to share this video far and wide. Let somebody know if you've enjoyed it. Put it in the comments you enjoyed, what you enjoyed, and how you feel about the topics. Of course, make sure you follow Carnival Slayers on TikTok, Twitch, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, and of course,
experience everything.
Let's check out the website. We're outside in the summer. We'll see you outside.
We're outside.
And we'll see you guys soon.
in the summer, that's where you are. Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night. Good night.